Welcome back, everybody, to TCS Ladder League Season 3 Top 8. We are here in person for playoffs. First of all, what an amazing video created by Bricko to set up this battle of champions. Today, I am joined by Flaming Laser. Laser, as we're heading into this very exciting match, how are you feeling? Talk to me about these competitors and how excited are you for this race?
Yeah, Saber, I'm super excited for this race. We have two amazing competitors today in ZAC and SCYNOR. Both of these runners have actually won tournaments. SCYNOR winning both the first and second ever TCS tournaments, and ZAC winning the Season 3 tournament as well. Today, these runners will be looking to advance to potentially claim their first ever Ladder League titles, which neither runner have achieved yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of those matchups that when you hear these two big names that have been top runners for such a long time, you just have to get excited. This is, like I said, our second quarterfinal match. We had Dragon versus Jared happen just earlier today, where Dragon took the victory over Jared. And so the winner of this quarterfinal will advance to face our seed 1. How do you think that factors into this race for SCYNOR and ZAC?
I think they're definitely going to be a little bit more worried about the match happening right now. They have to get through this one first, but definitely Dragon is going to be an extremely tough opponent. But yeah, all they want to do right now is just win this race. That's probably the only thing on their minds.
Yeah, and our runners doing just some last minute practice just to make sure that they're feeling warmed up for the run. Both of these players have been very involved in the production side of things and helping with everything run smoothly for this event. So just making sure that they're prepared for the race that's about to happen. And again, this very interesting element is that they are right in front of one another. We saw this with Jared and Dragon, that they were talking with one another throughout the run. I think we could see that even more with ZAC and SCYNOR just because they're friends, but there could also be an element of either one of them just wanting to lock in.
Yeah, definitely the in-person aspect is going to be very different for both these runners, not having competed in an in-person tournament before. We'll see how it's able to affect their play, if they're able to pull off a good run. I know SCYNOR, for example, he's in like a completely new environment. Usually he runs on a laptop, but since we are running in person, he's unable to do that. So having to play on a completely new keyboard. I know he's been practicing for the last month or so, ever since he qualified to the top 8 in week 5. So we'll see if that practice is able to come in clutch today.
Yeah, we should get into some of the runner cards, starting off with ZAC, who is our 4th seed in the tournament after a bit of a rough start in the ladder, probably not the performance that he was hoping for. So we'll get his runner card up here in a second and go through some of his statistics for him. And then we will also afterwards be looking at SCYNOR's runner card just to see both of the runners and kind of go more in depth on this matchup, go more into the statistics and the facts side of things rather than just talking about the matchup in general. How do you think for these two runners, since they are friends with one another, how do you think that factors into it? This isn't just like Jared and Dragon just meeting for the first time. ZAC and SCYNOR have been in the community for such a long time. How do you think that factors in?
Yeah, so the interesting thing is ZAC and SCYNOR have actually not played against each other in a ladder league match at all, I don't think. Because in Season 1, ZAC qualified with the 1 seed, and not participating in Season 2, they wouldn't have matched up there. And I don't believe they played at all of this ladder. So this is going to be their first matchup in a ladder league event. I think definitely we're going to be looking more so at some bragging rights. I know SCYNOR is definitely going to be a little bit happy to take a win over ZAC.
Yeah.
Might have to mention it a couple times in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a very exciting weekend. We're really looking forward to getting into all of these matches. And I think this one especially, as well as the upcoming ones. I mean, Bricko and Evan is such a powerhouse match as well. But these matches so far have been delivering, and we're very excited to get into this next one. I guess, Laser, for you, what is your personal prediction, not just on the winner of this race, but what kind of performance would you expect for these runners time-wise as well?
Mhm. So, me personally, I haven't been doing too hot in the predictions. So, I have predicted Bricko to win the, or not Bricko, I've predicted SCYNOR to win this match. I'm going for the points, but we can get to that later. We have the runner cards right now.
Yeah, first up, we have ZAC, who is, like I said, our 4 seed in the tournament. He is a 26-time world record holder and has also held the world record in TCS any percent for the longest amount of days over any of the other runners who play TCS. So just a very strong competitor. And he's also really known for, like, if anybody takes his record, he can usually take it back within just like a day or two if he really locks in and tries his hardest, which I think we're going to see that level of clutch play come out in this tournament as well.
Yeah, and another statistic on there, is able to type at 200 words per minute. I've actually seen personally him matched up against SCYNOR. SCYNOR is not the fastest typer in the world, we'll just say that. So if this matchup was typing, we would definitely give the edge to ZAC. But on to SCYNOR. SCYNOR, he won both the first and second OG TCS tournaments, and he is an 11 times any percent world record holder. The last time being his 229, I believe. And the most important thing is his consistency in tournaments. SCYNOR is the only runner in this top 8 to have qualified to every single previous TCS tournament knockout bracket. He has not failed to qualify for the top 8 once. So that's just an incredible show of consistency for him throughout the years.
Yeah, and it did also mention there that he specifically made it to top 6 in all of these tournaments. So if he's eliminated here in the quarterfinal, this could potentially be his lowest placement in a TCS tournament.
Yeah, in the previous 2 ladder league tournaments, he was eliminated in the quarterfinals. However, he was able to put up such good times in those quarterfinals match, barely losing out to Justin in season 2, and then getting matched up against a very strong opponent in Evan in season 1, who ended up winning the entire tournament. He still put up good enough times to make top 6 in those brackets.
Yeah, so going back to the prediction on who's going to win, you said ZAC to win, but I want you to throw out just a prediction on some of the times that we could see, factoring in we're in person, it's a new environment, there's been a lot of other stuff that's been happening these last couple of days. If these 2 runners just put up like a solid performance, what would you think to expect from their first quarterfinal match?
Yeah, for ZAC specifically, I know he's been very heavily involved in the tech side, and previously in this ladder league, he hasn't really put up a time I would consider to be good for him. So we'll see if he's able to do that today. I think he can probably put up a 217 with a good run today, but we'll have to see. SCYNOR, on the other hand, I know he's been struggling to adjust to the new keyboard. He recently got a low 219 with that keyboard, so we'll see if he's able to just improve very slightly to that. We could be looking at a 218, somewhere close to PB.
Yeah, that would be really cool to see. I think especially after the Jared and Dragon match, which was really back and forth until Dragon kind of took the lead in the back half and ran with it for the rest of the run. It still was a very, very close matchup. I mean, they were synced RTA multiple times through episode 6. So I think as long as we see just a high quality, good race, maybe some less tech problems as well, then I think we're going to be very happy with this run as we are getting into the final countdown before we hop into this match of ZAC versus SCYNOR.
Yep, don't think we have anything else to add, but we will be switching over. We will not be switching over, so...
So talking specifically about ZAC and his performance in the ladder, I think a lot of people would say that he underperformed. A lot of people predicted him in rung 1 that he would be making it immediately into the top 8 as the 1 seed. So it's kind of an upset when he didn't end up making it. and he ended up faltering so much that he didn't even get it until seed 4, which was very unexpected for him. Do you think that he's kind of moved past that and he's on to a new chapter for this tournament? Or do you think that those races could potentially have an impact with just kind of how his play has been in recent months?
So I think in week 1, people were really underestimating Dragon. I think in the like consensus form, every single person had ZAC to get the 1 seed and win that match. But Dragon was just able to put up such a strong performance. ZAC got a low 218 in week 1 and had a course on death. So still a very strong performance by him, but just unable to compete with Dragon in that one. And then week 2, he also didn't really put up that bad of a time. He just got slightly beat out by 2 runners in Evan and Brico, and that caused him to move down to rung 2. So he really didn't even have the opportunity to qualify until week 4 after that week 2 loss.
Yeah, that definitely played a factor. I do think it's interesting, just depending on how long a runner is in the ladder also affects how long they have to just lock in and practice, because a lot of our runners would prefer to do more practice than just runs themselves. So somebody like Jared, who didn't make it in until the wild card match against you, versus Dragon, who only played 1 match and then has had that time to put in just so much effort into his practice. We've seen him posting so many different IL splits and episode runs and whatnot. So it will be interesting to see how all of the runners fare from that perspective. Dragon, seemingly all of that practice was able to pay off, and he was able to lock in on his match. So it'll be interesting with the new environment and everybody's different play styles just to see what happens for each of these matches. But we're expecting a very close match between ZAC and SCYNOR. It's going to be very exciting once we hop into it.
Yeah, another thing is also like the motivation aspect. Sometimes, if you qualify really early on, you can lose motivation to do runs and instead maybe focus more on practice. I know that's been the case for a couple of runners in the past, but for a runner like Brico, for example, staying in the ladder all the way up to week 7, he was able to just continue to grind out runs, and I believe he has improved significantly since the start of the ladder.
Yeah, absolutely. And for ZAC, it is a very big factor that he has been so heavily involved in the production side of things. There's been so much time and effort that has been put into this tournament that you don't necessarily have as much time to practice and play as well. So all of these things are a factor, but all that matters is the time that you end up getting in the run itself. So in a race setting, you never know what's going to happen, but we're going to see very, very shortly what is going to transpire in this very exciting match.
Yeah, and it looks like we are off. Both runners entering negotiations. We can see we have both runner cams, ZAC on the right, SCYNOR on the left.
Something to note right away is the BPTs between these 2 runners. SCYNOR with a 2:13.43 and ZAC with a 2:12.36, which I believe is the best sum of bests for any of the runners of this game. And also just like even in comparison to recent months, I feel like people's sum of bests have been continuing to go down very significantly. But having over a minute lead over SCYNOR just in golds is something that could play a factor in this match.
Yeah, for sure, Saber. We'll also have to see, because I believe ZAC is one of the best episode 1 runners in the community. So we'll see if he's able to take an early lead. SCYNOR also very strong in the early game. I would say that is his strong point compared to like the mid game / late game.
Taking a quick step away from the game itself, for anyone who has never seen ZAC play the game and how he grips his controller, this is your chance to watch that for the first time using a couple of the right triggers instead of using all of the face buttons, which I think a lot of people would find just very weird and probably uncomfortable as well.
Yeah, something to note is ZAC has 100 studs on player 1, so we are going to have to take an additional death. Not getting shot with player 2 at all, so we are going to have to walk all the way to the end with TC14 manages to take the death, and it looks like we're getting 0 studs. I did not see what happened to SCYNOR, but he is behind.
Yeah, I was also focusing on ZAC there. ZAC had a good recovery given the situation, able to swap the players in the correct way and walk in with TC without also accidentally getting studs right there at the end. I'm shocked that that's a 2-10 split for negotiations.
Yeah, and to go back to what you were saying about ZAC's binds, another thing that is very interesting about SCYNOR is his keyboard binds. I think compared to most runners in this top 8 bracket, he has some of the most unique player 2 binds. Actually opting to use the default binds for player 1, like player 1 when you're supposed to be casually playing the game, and those binds are created for using both your hands on the keyboard.
Yeah, so things like J for jump and P for pause, really weird positioning for his hands to be able to do those inputs. So some unique controller management from both of the runners here. So we have our first ICS here from ZAC, which was successful, and hopefully SCYNOR follows suit.
Yeah, something to note for both of these runners is getting a redrop in on the tree. So if both these runners opt to do drop gymnastic, they will have a redrop in on player 1 when we get to pod race.
Yeah, that will be very important to watch out for, kind of this new early game development with re-drop-ins, and specifically drop gymnastic being a bit of a newer trick that has grown in popularity in recent months, and now most all top runners go for it. And ZAC taking a very, very bad waterfall death. Luckily, very quick backup as well to kill the droids, and SCYNOR has the exact same problem, but probably both backing it up equally as well and not causing any major time loss for either runner.
Yeah, both runners also doing the fastest backup. There are a couple people who don't know that dropping in player 2 is faster, but SCYNOR missing log jump, dropping in player 2 again to force another object as backup for a Jar Jar jump. Not a good invasion for either runner.
No, yeah, not at all. Not what you would expect. And we haven't even gotten to drop gymnastic. Let's see how it goes for ZAC first. Very clean.
Yeah, that was textbook for ZAC. Getting the swap off of player 1 almost instantly. See if SCYNOR is able to match that. Doing a setup more in the middle of the screen and an even faster swap. Wonderful drop gymnastic from SCYNOR there.
Yeah, not the trick that you would expect to not cause any issues from that level. Seeing multiple missed Jar Jar jumps was definitely not on the docket for especially just the top level of play. You wouldn't expect to see it from these runners.
Yeah, now heading into escape, we do have player 2 dropped in from drop gymnastic. So room 1 is all about this auto dropout. I believe SCYNOR actually is not going to be going for it though. It's just going to opt to drop out player 2 manually, take the half a second or so time loss. We'll see if ZAC is able to get a clean room 1 and avoid taking too much damage, or it becomes a disaster later on in the level.
Yeah, and it's good to note that there is already a 14-second difference between these runners after a rougher invasion for SCYNOR. And that might not seem like much, and we're very early on in the run, but the fact that we're already seeing a gap like this has to be a little bit worrisome for SCYNOR. I mean, maybe he's not watching the stream and he doesn't know the comparison, but with how he's played so far, he has to know that he's not doing well and that he's probably feeling like he's behind.
ZAC successfully getting arch clip and the auto dropout, so it's looking good for him. We're just going to see SCYNOR manually drop out. But yeah, another thing to note is about the in-person environment. I know SCYNOR, for example, he really doesn't like to check the stream during these ladder league matches, but in this situation, he doesn't really have the opportunity to like kind of hide the information from himself, whether it's like hearing ZAC's clicks or like seeing ZAC stand up after a level. You're just never going to be fully in the dark like you might want to be.
Yeah, he also can see his splits on his second monitor, which some people, when they're doing runs or especially a race like this, would prefer that they don't see what kind of pace they're on, just so they don't get too much in their head about how well or poorly that they're doing. But in this case, all of the runners have those splits next to them, and even if you try to look away, sometimes, you know, it's just gonna happen. You're gonna glance at the splits.
Yeah, SCYNOR, I believe that was accidentally shooting the object on top of the elevator.
It was.
And having to go for ground shots.
Yeah, accidental ground shot backup from SCYNOR there, just shooting too early towards the elevator. But it ended up not being too bad. It's just a little time loss like that when you've already not played well for the first 2 levels is really not a good sign when you're going to be heading into the hardest level of this episode with one of the most intimidating tricks of the run, and you're already at almost a 20-second deficit against ZAC.
Yeah, this is the 3rd split in a row that he will be losing time to ZAC, but we can turn this all around in one level, this next level coming up, with probably the most difficult trick in the early game God Fraud. Just, it is extremely easy to miss either of the laps, and instantly you're just getting set back 30 seconds from either miss.
Yeah, and of course there's a various amount of ways that you can miss the trick. The worst thing that could happen is a runner being backwards and needing to completely restart the level. And obviously that can be even worse if you end up doing that on the 3rd lap versus lap 1. So this is one of the few levels that can cause a massive run-ending disaster, which when it's this early on, there's just almost nothing that you can do. It feels almost dreadful to even think about that for either of these runners. I'm pre-commentator cursing. If something happens, I'll take the full blame for it. But hopefully we see a successful God Fraud from both runners. We have ZAC as our first runner going for the trick.
So ZAC opting not to drop out player 1. Does not manage to do the re-drop out tech.
His height's going to be weird.
Yeah, that was like a slightly low height boost. So he is getting pulled by the track, taking 2 deaths. He's going to have too much speed. But I don't know if he took a death with player 1. He might just have no speed here. He does. And that is not even going to be saving time with the trick at all. It's better to miss it in that situation. So this gives SCYNOR the opportunity to take the lead.
Yeah, SCYNOR with a very clean God Fraud so far. And it looks like he does have a good amount of speed. He is going to catch right back up to ZAC. I mean, they're almost tied now, even with the deficit going into this level.
Yeah, what was an 18-second deficit is now only maybe 2 seconds.
Of course, now we're going to be looking for lap 3, because what happens on lap 1, it is just as devastating if you mess it up on lap 3. Honestly, I'm surprised that ZAC was able to recover with the weird momentum and height that he had.
No! SCYNOR
and
clipping through the rock, but somehow he is forwards.
He looked like he was backwards.
We didn't notice. Just go do 4 to...
Okay, we are going to be playing this extremely safe, just driving almost the entire lap.
Oh my goodness.
This is fine for him. Going to be a time loss, but narrowly avoiding disaster for SCYNOR.
And ZAC is just already successfully hitting lap 3 of God Fraud. He has hit the trick. He's about to be exiting the level. SCYNOR somehow avoiding disaster, and looks like he is also set up to hit lap 3. What a crazy pod race for SCYNOR. Started off crazy for ZAC, but then was crazy for SCYNOR. I absolutely thought that he was backwards.
Yeah, so on the original pod fraud attempt, he did not clip through the rock. So his camera was really sketchy after the mid-tro, and then he got turned around, I believe. So he was almost backwards and then managed to turn himself around again to end up going forwards before it was too late.
Yeah, we're going to have to see when the split times come in. We're down to a 17-second deficit between these two runners. It basically it stayed pretty similar compared to the escape exit.
Yeah, SCYNOR actually making up 1 second, but considering what could have happened and what almost happened, I'm sure he's not too upset about that split time.
Yeah, definitely not. SCYNOR was moments away from disaster, but ZAC just not getting very much speed during his Godfraud really kind of killed the potential time save of the trick. But again, luckily no major disasters for either runner, because it could have, like we said, this is the level where devastation can happen. And now that we're past that, I mean, we're still getting into a very high level with feed, a very high skill level. And both of these runners kind of have to lock in here as well. Even after pod fraud, you kind of just, you just have to move on, kind of mentally reset and lock in, because it's not like you get a breather immediately after.
Yeah, these last two levels in episode 1 are the most challenging outside of pod race. Theed just being a super long level with tons of things that can go wrong, and then Maul with some precise tricks in lamp jump and cycle skips, and then a hard 1v2c room.
And SCYNOR takes a terrible death in the first room. There is a Droidica that is alive. We do not have the power up anymore, and he is still going to be going for Theater Clip. Luckily, the Droidica ended up going a little bit lower into the room, but taking some deaths, he can't find where his players are. And we're going to have to kill some of these enemies and try and recover this. This is a disaster for SCYNOR.
Yeah, the thing that sucks about this is when you do this, you really still have to just commit for going for Theater Clip, because going back for R2 is, you have to walk so far back and then so far forwards that it just loses even more time.
I honestly don't know how he clipped out of bounds there.
Yeah, I was surprised earlier. I thought he was going to get clipped out by the Droidica pushing the speeder, but just taking so much time there. Gonna give ZAC close to a minute lead almost. He's already in Theed 2.
Yeah, while we were focusing on SCYNOR, ZAC hit left side. He did have a little bit of a risk with player 1 only on 1 heart, but he made it through just fine, and he's going to be cruising through this Theed. This is going to be really devastating for SCYNOR. Like we said, kind of just this compounding loss of time over almost every single level so far, causing a very major deficit to be this early in the run.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult to play from behind, especially like such a large gap out of episode 1, but he can't really do anything about it other than try and play well for the rest of the run and just hope ZAC makes mistakes.
Yeah, he didn't look too frustrated in the moment, but it's probably he was just locking in and trying to deal with the situation. I think after this Theed, though, we might see some sort of reaction just to see kind of where his mental is at, because that has to be, I mean, if you're losing a minute in this level, that's got to be just very unfortunate for the mental. And like we said, you just have to stay locked in. Maul is not a completely free level either. You have to worry about even more things now with Roger skip. So you just kind of have to keep the mental calm and keep playing and not worry about anything else.
And ZAC successfully getting the hanger camera pan skip. So going to be very solid from him.
Was that a rare Panaka damage boost on R2-D2? I don't know if I've seen that.
I have not seen anyone go for that. Usually when you do the camera pan skip, you get a switch to the other Jedi. Since you would be Panaka before and then switch, but this time getting a switch directly to Panaka and just sniping some shots to get a damage boost. Getting a 35 Theed, 435.
Wow.
Very solid time, especially considering that we were playing with saves in this episode 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to have to see the time from SCYNOR, but I want to say that he lost at least a minute in this Theed. And even little mistakes like that, missing a camera pan skip, it's just going to multiply what's been happening to him in this level. We'll see if he can at least end it off in a clean way.
And then SCYNOR also getting the camera pan skip. Maybe the only good thing that happened in this Theed. This is just going to be so unfortunate for him. ZAC is already in the gameplay of Maul, missing lamp once. This could potentially be what SCYNOR needs to come back, but only going to miss it once.
Yeah, that is one of those tricks that if you miss it once and you're trying to reset it, it can just affect you mentally. You just kind of keep going over and over again. So luckily just getting it second try. ZAC will have to be watching his stud count here heading into Roger skip. Something that I think a lot of people are used to nowadays.
On one heart, though.
Yeah, good dodges somehow.
And we're gonna have 2810 studs, so relatively decent stud count. This should definitely be pretty close to 90% to get single Roger Roger. And getting the death movement so far. Okay, all good.
The feed was a 526 from SCYNOR.
So yeah, losing 51 seconds. Zach
Yeah.
getting single Roger Roger. So basically all you can ask for in this room.
Yeah, that gap now has extended to about 1:08 between these two runners, which is such a large deficit to have this early on.
Yeah, and there isn't really very many levels where that time can be made up. First one I can really think of is Camino, with the possibility of losing some time, missing the difficult skips. But like, outside of that, you're not really gonna have a minute disaster in episode 2.
Yeah, definitely. SCYNOR here on 30-30 studs heading into Roger Roger skip.
Yep, any stud count over 3,000 is going to act exactly the same as having 3,000. So it's an 81% chance for SCYNOR to get single here. And he does get it, so no bad luck from the runners today. I know we did see Dragon miss single Roger Roger with a great stud count, but no bad RNG for the runners today.
And while SCYNOR was hitting that, we did have both successful cycle skips from ZAC. So he closed out a very good maul. Other than that missed lamp jump, probably going to be a very solid split time for him.
Yeah, I know cycle skips was one of the things that ZAC was practicing before his run. So glad it paid off.
If SCYNOR matches that, I think he has a chance here to actually gain time over ZAC in comparison to the previous levels, just because he was able to get lamp jump first try. So we could see him claw it back just a little bit, but the deficit is still going to be pretty large heading into episode 2.
We'll have to see, because SCYNOR is on a new keyboard, so maybe not used to cycle skips fully. Getting the first one, but barely missing the second one. Probably around 2 frames off.
Yeah, that looked very close from him. Still possible that he has a better split time than ZAC just because of the missed lamp jump. So we'll have to see when that comes in. But otherwise from ZAC, we have a 1929 episode 1 exit with saves. Overall, very solid. I think other than the mishap in pod race, he can't be too upset about that.
Yeah, very solid episode 1 considering that pod race mistake. Really only losing time in invasion and pod race. Yeah, heading into BHP, it's going to be the first really 1P2C heavy vehicle level in the run.
Yeah, this is one of those levels that even to like a lot of the mid-level runners, they won't even all necessarily do the 1P2C because it's very difficult to save time with it. You have to be good enough at the ship 1P2C for it to even be faster than just playing it well with one player.
Yep, and SCYNOR with a 2040, so I believe actually losing time in that split as well. No. Wait, can I do math? Yeah, losing about 3 seconds.
Yeah, 356 to a 353. And like we said at the beginning with the BPTs, even looking at it now, ZAC, even with a couple of mishaps in episode 1, still has a mid 213 BPT, whereas SCYNOR is all the way down to a 215 BPT.
Yeah, just to mention something I've found a little bit funny. In pod race, SCYNOR actually unplugging his controller. I know on his laptop he has an issue where he has to unplug his controllers and plug them back in order to get them to work properly in episode 2, and continuing to do that even when on a completely different PC. So yes, the muscle memory really doesn't go away.
I believe that is what has caused a little bit of lag frames on SCYNOR's end during this run. Seen a couple of those flash on his screen. We had a solid Lightroom 1 from ZAC. No mishaps on any of the lights. Very solid BHP so far for him.
Yeah, the end room is really going to be the only room with a little bit of variance here at this top level. Definitely going to be the more difficult between the two.
Yeah, we'll see here for ZAC if we get any fun facts in the top right, skipping one of the torpedoes. Usually people only go for that if they end up getting less torpedoes, getting only 2 on one of the players, they'll intentionally go for it, skipping the middle turret in the top right. But as long as everything goes smoothly, then we will see a very standard end room. I think there might be a turret that is still alive. There was one in the top right. There might also be one in the bottom left.
Actually, only having 2 torpedoes on player 2, so having to pick up another one with player 1, and he doesn't hit it.
Yeah,
targeting incorrectly.
That targeted, I believe, a turret in the bottom left that was still left alive, causing
and
more
taking
time
a
loss.
death on the wall. This is a terrible end room for ZAC.
Yeah, very rough. Having to go back to the dispenser multiple times for both sides of the room is a very rare mistake that you see from a top runner.
And you can see him shaking his head. He is not happy about that. I thought we might have had some issues earlier when he was on 1 heart with player 1, but managing to get to the dispenser just fine. Just the issue being all the turrets left alive. But that is going to leave some room for SCYNOR to catch up here.
Yeah, SCYNOR has a big deficit right now, but if there's just continual like 10 to 15 second mistakes like that, then it only takes a few levels and that will really even things out. SCYNOR also has a turret alive in the top right and the bottom right. There are so many guys alive.
This is just a terrible second Lightroom for both of these runners so far.
Yeah, we have to watch the targeting here. Opts to play it very safely. Could have just played it on 2 torpedoes. Decided to go back. And considering, well, we're not quite done yet, but considering what happened for both of these runners, I would say that SCYNOR played it just a little bit safer, but both lost quite a bit of time.
And we have ZAC on our 4-fly, one of the only remaining runners to opt to do it with controller. The standard nowadays is to do the more consistent keyboard setup. Since the controller one, you need to really hold a specific angle that is kind of difficult to identify. But it is faster to do it on controller. But force pushing R4 into the wall and have to exit the donut room with Obi-Wan instead. Now we're setting up for KBS.
Yeah, and missing a slash on R4. So just a couple of weird oddities happening for ZAC right now. And he is inbounds on Camino button skip. He's going to opt to wait for R4 to reactivate. Because if you kill R4, then you also have to slash him 3 more times to do the trick.
Yeah, that force push was really weird. I thought he got no deactivate at first because he kind of like was up higher in the air than he was supposed to be. I thought he flew, but just not getting out of bounds at all. And SCYNOR also going for the controller version of our 4-fly, hitting it first try.
And notably, the deficit for these runners leaving Maul and leaving BHP ended up being the exact same. So there was no change in lead or even change in the deficit between the 2 runners, which is kind of surprising. I thought SCYNOR had a slightly better BHP, but again, both runners just making similar mistakes and ended up being the same amount of time lost. But SCYNOR has an opportunity here now to hit KBS and save some time over ZAC.
Ooh, I think he is out of bounds.
He looks good. This fly is a little bit riskier when you start from that far back.
Oh,
And he is
no.
underneath the floor. I think he meant to do a full fly and accidentally dropped his input,
But
causing him to lose the fly.
we are going to be doing this backup where we try and call in Obi-Wan past the wall. It does work. So we aren't going to be losing an insane amount of time. But still, our force should warp here now. Okay, we are good. But this is like the third or fourth time where ZAC has lost a major amount of time, and SCYNOR's had the opportunity to make it up in a level and just has not at all.
Yeah, you can even tell when he went for that backup that he wasn't too confident in like the line that he was taking or any sort of setup for it. Luckily, he knew conceptually how it worked enough to still hit the backup, but again, not great, just not really taking advantage of these opportunities.
Didn't see how many droids ZAC killed during that Camino clip, but he killed one right at the end before hitting the camera pan. So we are probably on either seeds 2, 3, or 4.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye out for SCYNOR's droid kills. But I know I saw at least 2 for ZAC, but there might have been a third as well.
And then another thing that SCYNOR did in this room is he opted not to drop out R4 at all, just flying over through this bomb room, save a dropout. More of a recent development. See, I think Bricko was the first runner to start going for it, and it's been picked up by some more people since then. Now we have SCYNOR going for Camino clip. We killed 1 droid. That's a second. We don't want to kill any more from now on. That is a 3rd droid.
Yeah, we need to be very
And
careful here.
We are not out of bounds. This is not good. That is a 4th droid, a 5th droid, and we have still not clipped. We lost the power up, so we're not going to be killing any more than 5 droids. But just opting to use the panel instead. This is another disaster for SCYNOR.
Yeah, 5 droids is definitely not ideal. And of course, missing Camino clip causes time loss immediately, but because of the droid kills, it now causes time loss in the future. We'll have to see. I mean, it's not even always about knowing the seeds as much as it is that some of the seeds are just not very good or very fast at all.
Yeah, seed 5 is already bad, I believe. And that is the best possible one he can get. Seed 6 is like really bad. I believe it's not even shown in the tutorial because you should just not be getting to seed 6. But there is a very good chance that SCYNOR is on seed 6.
Yeah, that would be really unfortunate, just given the race that he's had so far. Obviously, there's some avoidable disasters, like Theed Room 1, just playing it a little bit more careful. But to have something like this happen, it's just got to be really annoying as a runner when you're already, you know that you're down, things aren't going too well for you, and then something like this happens where you won't even get to see the result of it for multiple levels.
Yeah, and if we take a look at like Zach's exit, for example, he had a bad start to episode 2 as well, losing time in both of the levels. But SCYNOR just still going to be losing more from this Camino. I believe he's going to be... His exit should be around like a 30-20 or a 30-30 if I had to guess. 30-35. So the gap is actually going to be a mid-40. And we're only like 8 levels in.
Yeah, this is, like you said earlier, just trying to fight back into it when you're already playing from behind is really difficult, especially from the mental aspect. You know, it's not that these runners haven't locked in and performed great runs before, but doing it under this pressure in a race setting is just, it's a whole different environment.
And now we have Pixel Bucket for ZAC. SCYNOR really wanted to. He could mess ZAC up by shouting very loudly so he can't hear his audio cue, but ZAC hitting this trick first try. So, gonna be a good droid factory most likely. ZAC, one of the best runners at Droid Factory in the community.
Yeah, he's very good at Pixel Bucket. So his setup is clean and consistent every time. And it's one of those tricks that if you miss it, it ends up spiraling and causing a lot of time loss. So luckily no disaster for him, and like you said, just playing the level incredibly well.
Yeah, the thing with Pixel Bucket is once you miss it once, you get respawned so far back, and even if you get it on the second attempt, there's a chance that you don't make like the next fastest cycle because the bucket is in a weird place. But ZAC, getting the power up on player 1 here, gonna be able to save about a second on this force.
Yeah, it was a little bit out of the way, but it wasn't too bad. I think the spawn was pretty good, but it was mainly because he shot the door a little bit later than he would have liked. So it took a little bit of time to get to him, but still definitely worth it to save time there on the force.
Yeah, as long as it's not taking you more than a second to pick up the power up, then you are going to be saving time with it. SCYNOR attempting Pixel Bucket right now.
Very important trick for him to hit at this point. Even if you're not always gaining back time, you need to not be losing more time.
And
I think he's too low. Good decision from him to go back, but then he still misses the trick.
Yeah, that first attempt, he had the setup right, but just pausing too late. In that second attempt, he had the weird situation where you're not actually in the corner and you have to do an extra up left tap before doing the setup. And just not doing that fast enough, I guess, and falling all the way down.
Yeah, just another example of SCYNOR. I mean, it wasn't even an opportunity for him to make up time, but another example of him just purely losing time against ZAC. ZAC isn't even playing super well, but is playing just well enough where we just have a compounding loss from SCYNOR level by level.
Yeah, 406 Droid Factory from ZAC.
Very good.
Very good split. First good split of the episode. We'll see he's able to get a good Jedi battle to continue this momentum. Great first pillar from ZAC. It's normally the part in this level with the most variance. So once we approach the waves, we'll be able to see what seed he's on. As I said before, he killed at least 2 droids, maybe 3. So we're likely going to be on one of the better seeds in 2, 3, or 4.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like we said for SCYNOR, there's a good chance that he is on a very rough seed, almost guaranteed at this point because of his Camino clip. So we can expect that what's currently happening with SCYNOR, whether it's him not playing great or not being on a great seed, it's all going to lead to more time loss. Whereas ZAC is playing decently well, hitting the first camera pan skip, which is one of the newer tricks that was implemented into this game after there was kind of a better understanding of how some of the tech works with force pushes and the ability to get swaps off to different characters.
This is very interesting for ZAC because he is either on seed 3 or 4, but there is a droid missing. There should have been a droid in that second pack. There should have been 2 droids in that second pack of red droids, and just not being there at all. So gonna lose some time on this wave, and then barely missing out on the camera pan skip. He got the movement, but unable to swap to anyone.
Yeah, luckily he found that droid. It was kind of just chilling towards the bottom of the screen.
And I believe this is seed 4 because, yes, it's seed 4 because he has 1 super at the end. So, not a great Jedi battle from ZAC. He had a good pillars and then just losing some time on the first wave. But I assure you this is going to be better than the waves that SCYNOR gets.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have to watch out for SCYNOR. We might not even recognize which seed that he's on, depending on where the droids are.
Yeah, I can tell you I am not in practice with seeds 5 or 6, so...
Yeah, not seeds that anyone really needs to be in practice for, because not something that you would see encountering in a normal run, but for SCYNOR, unfortunately, with his Camino not being normal, it is something that he's going to have to deal with.
Yeah, and even in like normal any percent attempts, if you were to end up in a situation like that, you'd normally just reset the run.
Exactly.
But we are in a tournament, so we have to continue a no reset. Missing the camera pan skip, I think Padme was slightly too far right, so we did not get the switch.
Yeah, no droids so far.
Have one droid there, we have two here. The second droid is in a weird spot, so not a seed that we would like to be on for sure. Finding the last two guys here.
Oh, wow. That was borderline faster than Zach's wave.
Yeah, the issue is going to be the second wave.
Yeah.
So we don't have anyone here at the start. And ZAC hitting second barrier skip and gunship, so going well for him right now. We have two red droids here, and then we still have two super battle droids.
Yeah, and at this point, one of them could have just been running around for a long time. Luckily, was just there at the end.
So yeah, not the worst spawns in the world, but just not knowing where they will be just loses so much time.
Yeah, SCYNOR only now entering the Django fight as Zach is finishing up in gunship.
ZAC will finish gunship before SCYNOR finishes Jedi battle.
Yeah, a full level lead here for Zach, as both of them are entering the cutscenes of their respective levels.
So yeah, that Jedi battle was a 329 from ZAC. I'm curious to see what SCYNOR got. I don't think it's going to be that much worse than a 329. Yeah, 31. So only losing 2 seconds to ZAC. But that's just another opportunity where ZAC loses considerable time and SCYNOR not being able to make it up. That one not really being able to do anything about it because of the amount of droids he killed.
Yeah, I mean, we're still talking about a 2-minute gap between these runners, so ultimately these small instances of gaining or losing time don't matter unless something majorly disastrous happens for Zach specifically. Even if SCYNOR plays well, Zach has to play poorly. That's just like, that is the only option for how SCYNOR still has a win condition for this match at this point.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true now, but maybe like at the start of episode 1 where SCYNOR was only behind by about a minute, that wasn't the same. Like ZAC was making tons of mistakes. He's probably lost over 30 seconds in this episode alone, and SCYNOR just not being able to make it up any of the time.
Yeah, he just blew up a bomb on one of the hyena spider droids that rolls around here on Geonosis. So he had to go back for a bomb. Luckily not too much time lost, but again, just those little things that have kept adding up and has caused SCYNOR to have a pretty rough run so far.
We have ZAC finishing up Dooku. Not getting either of the fast lightning cycles, just slashing a little bit too late. But it is not something that matters at this point. The gap is 2 minutes, 2-second time save. That is frame perfect, is not going to be the decider of this match.
Yeah, we're going to see here what Zach gets for an episode 2 exit. Of course, taking into account that this is with saves, but a 40-35 is definitely not something that he would be too happy with.
Yeah, the main issues in this run so far for ZAC being like the 30-second time loss in pod race. Maybe not 30, maybe around 20 seconds, I would say. And then just the sloppy start to the episode 2. SCYNOR hitting Dooku skip as well, so
Thank goodness.
we're not going to be furthering the gap.
Yeah, we're going to hope that we never miss a Dooku skip during this top 8 playoffs. That would be devastating to see. Hopefully we have some Christmas music that's ready if that ever does happen.
Yeah, that is not something we have prepared, but we might need to consider it. Unfortunately, we missed out on Beep Beep on the ZAC Muffin shop trip. Very important extra that we forgot to get. That might be able to give SCYNOR the lead.
Yeah, I think that causes some time loss for ZAC, not getting Beep Beep. It's certainly a weird choice from him. So as we head into this episode 4, we've kind of talked about what's already happened in this match for these runners, and we've kind of seen their level of play, but people would argue that episodes 4 and then following that with episode 6 is one of the harder sections of the run and has some very high skill levels like Jundland and DSE and Endor. So given how this run has gone so far from our runners, what are you kind of expecting from them going into these episodes?
So from ZAC, honestly, I'm expecting him to play pretty well. He's only like had a couple of big time losses. The Camino was really just the one thing. The BHP was the one thing. The pod race was the one thing. So for me right now, it's looking like ZAC is playing rather well outside of a couple of just like big mistakes. SCYNOR on the other hand, he has just not really put up a solid split this run at all, losing time to ZAC in almost every split in episode 1 and then just not saving time in 2 either. And with the episodes only getting harder, cannot expect that to change. But I certainly would like for it to.
Yeah, definitely. We're not going to see that here in Secret Plans, kind of known as just a classic 1P2C level, but not too many difficult tricks or anything happening here. Obviously, you're getting prepared for Jundland, which is a much harder level, but it's been going solid so far for ZAC.
Yeah, something to note for ZAC is she opting not to do the newer strat in this level, which involves turning exploding blaster bolts on in the first room and using it to kill the guys. That might be partially because he got a power-up despawn, but ideally you wouldn't actually need it. So yeah, I guess normally you would turn the extras on earlier, so just opting not to do it at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's not something that he's bothered to implement. It's such a minor thing. I'm not sure how much he's been playing in the last month or so to implement something that's pretty new and more done recently by runners. And it's also just such like a micro optimization that not going for it doesn't even feel like a huge deal for anyone.
Yeah, it does save like decent 2 seconds or so, but you do need to learn it. You can't really just wing it. But this secret plan so far hasn't been the greatest for ZAC. I did mention he had the power-up despawn, so losing fast build on the builds in the second room, SCYNOR gonna be able to potentially make up some time here. So ZAC not getting a switch immediately to player 2, but it's not really an issue. Just have to get through this end room without really getting shot during a build. But SCYNOR also going for the exploding blaster bolt strat that ZAC opted not to do. Oh, and missing the jump with Leia. Luckily, waits with player 2, so we will not be losing a ridiculous amount of time. But this end room so far has been fine for ZAC. We're really not going to be having more than like 5 seconds of time loss in the split. But yeah, as we approach this next level, Jundland for ZAC, this is another spot where we could potentially have a swing. the first place really being slow force. If you mess up slow force, you're forced to go for either the EJP out of bounds, which is kind of tricky, and is a little bit difficult if you're out of practice on it, or the slower satellite jump. And I think just doing the satellite jump alone is already losing 20 seconds to like a good slow force time.
Yeah, but for slow force, it is one of those tricks that like you also have to be at least somewhat in practice of one of the other methods. Because if you happen to mess it up, you have to have a backup. There's no skipping out on fast force for the run. It's something that you just have to do. I think a lot of people opt for EJP out of bounds, but I've also seen some people who just decide to do satellite jump since it is like considered a much safer and easier way to go about the out of bounds.
Yeah, the problem with slow force is there's just like so many nuances about it. Like when you are crossing that bridge, you need to take like almost a perfect line. Otherwise, you can pop back in bounds, or you can go too far and then fall and die out of bounds and just have to give up on the trick entirely. As much as we have talked about how easy it is to mess it up, I really don't expect either runner to miss it. They're
Yeah.
both in practice with it. Spent a lot of time in this level, so should be fine.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would be surprising to see either of these runners miss it. Especially some of these newer tricks where these runners have been there since the trick's conception, and so they've been there to practice ever since it was discovered. These people have put in so much time to all of the new tech and tricks that we've learned and discovered over the last couple of years. So it would be surprising to see, especially top runners, missing anything like that. And ZAC hit it very cleanly, clean line. Good red brick grab as well. Nothing too crazy with the camera. Just a very solid slow force from him.
Yeah, that was just textbook from ZAC. And now we're going to see him approach BBJ, which is probably the only other like spot you can really have a disaster in this level. I guess you can die in like the quicksand, which loses a lot. But oh, that looked like it was going to be first try from ZAC.
Yeah, you could tell he was even adjusting his hands to move into a 1P2C grip, but had to pick his controller back up in order to get it, but does get it second try.
Yeah, I really think having the camera of the runners really adds a lot.
It
to the
really
stream.
does.
It was really interesting to see what ZAC just did there, where he was ready to start playing the next room. Almost shocked as us to see that not work.
And then even afterwards, taking a very weird and random death there in the sand crawler. Something you don't see super often, and a good reaction from him for that as well.
Yeah. Crazy now, because SCYNOR is actually just entering Junland. Oh, ZAC shooting the Gonk droid. I don't know why he would try and kill the Gonk droid.
Is
Kind
there
of-
always two Gonk droids in this room? I guess maybe they always wander around, but they were kind of
Yeah,
in his way
I
in
think
multiple spots.
There can be more than two. I have definitely seen like 3 or more Gonk droids all in the way. But SCYNOR going for slow force now. Looks good. Okay, the hardest part is over. Now we just need the red brick grab. And ZAC successfully getting quicksand 1 while we were watching that. Gonna opt to go for bone bridge. Oh, he was slightly too far
I
left.
think he got a respawn though.
Yeah, getting a respawn because he did a double jump instead of a buffered double jump. So, not gonna be the worst thing in the world, but not what you would like to see. That's gonna be a little bit bitter considering how solid this Junland was before that. We had a second try BBJ and everything else was fine.
I think some of the time loss in the sand crawler probably kept this from being a really good Junland, but hitting a lot of the important tricks, so definitely still a solid split time from ZAC for this level.
Now we see SCYNOR enter the Sandcrawler. It's already going a little bit better. We'll just have to see if he can avoid taking a death in this next room coming up.
Yeah, we'll also have to watch out for the Gonk RNG. I do think that some of those Gonks were blocking ZAC from being able to properly kill the Jawas in this next section. Because it's probably like the Spider and Javas where it's just a random set of spawn points.
You can actually see them from this previous room. But yeah, no gonks like directly in front of C3PO. I can see 2 on the screen right now. I think it's probably is RNG how many you get. Either that or there's like one hiding right now. But yeah, still gonna be a sub 5 Junlin from ZAC, 458.
Yeah, in this kind of a setting, you really can't ask for much more. You're not going to expect that all of these runners are going to play at a much better level than that, especially for a tough level like Jundland. As ZAC went for player 3 glitch in room 1 of Spaceport, hit it successfully, but a little too fast with the speeder there and didn't jump on top with Obi-Wan, but a very fast speeder clip. So a solid room 1 overall. If he had just slightly better movement with the speeder, this could have been a very fast spaceport so far.
Yeah, I think I would definitely call Spaceport one of ZAC's specialty levels. He's put in so much time into this level, and you could really see it. That last room, he just like got through that narrow gap with the speeder without really taking too much time, no bumping into any walls, just immediately getting through, and only really wasn't good because of that small time loss in room 1 and getting stuck to civilians.
Yeah. Soon we're gonna have the Jundland split time coming in here for SCYNOR, and just see how that is in comparison to ZAC. Obviously, we're still gonna be at about a 2-minute deficit, and yeah, SCYNOR there with getting a 451. Yeah,
So yeah,
so a little bit better from SCYNOR there on that Jundland.
yeah, I believe he also actually he did not make up any time in Secret Plans. I was gonna say I thought he did based off of how he played the start of the level, but ZAC having a very solid end room in Secret Plans, so getting the same split time.
The problem is, even with SCYNOR making up 7 seconds in a single level, it just really doesn't do much to the deficit. Still just over 2 minutes. I mean, that's just such big time loss that's compounded over the run that, again, it will take a lot for SCYNOR to claw this back. And there's obviously still time, but as we keep saying that, more of the run happens, and there's just less opportunities for him to lock in and really have any chance of catching up to ZAC at this point.
Yeah, SCYNOR also opting to do the room 1 player 3 glitch. I believe this actually could be the only matchup where we see both runners go for the room 1 player 3 glitch. I'm not sure if Bricko goes for it. I believe he might, but
he was not standing on the button as Luke. Still isn't at this point, which could cause some issues, but it is fine.
yeah, I think he slid off the button.
I think so.
That has definitely happened to me without, like, when you're playing that room, you don't really pay attention to Luke after you get on the button. So if you slide off, you could be worrying about player 2, and just the AI won't get onto the button in time.
Yeah, luckily not too bad. Was able to back it up pretty quickly. We saw something similar happen to Dragon in the last quarterfinal match that we saw. He played the pre-cantina a little too fast, and so the pathing with C3PO was just a little off.
Yeah, the only thing is, with that mistake, I think SCYNOR is going to be losing back all the time that he saved
I think so.
in the previous level. ZAC getting a 311. So not the greatest split, but we are definitely going to be saving time to whatever SCYNOR gets here.
ZAC also hitting first try Princess out of bounds. Very clean start to this level so far. And this next section is very interesting because it wouldn't seem like a section that can cause a lot of time variance, but how quickly you grab this red brick, and also then how quickly, if you decide to do the backup shot or go straight to the bridge, all of this can cause a lot more time loss than you might think. Zach opting to play it safe and just going immediately for the backup shot, which I think in this setting is definitely the right call.
Yeah, I know Obi-Wan can be kind of different depending on the setup you are on. So going for the backup shot when you're on a setup you don't normally play on is definitely the right call. I believe Zach actually does just do the backup shot every time when he's doing normal attempts.
SCYNOR's split time for Spaceport comes in as a 3:21, so he is going to lose 10 seconds against ZAC just in that level.
And based off how this princess has been played from Zach so far, I don't see any time being able to be made up here. I think the only thing left for Zach is not getting an aggro here, which should be fine.
Yeah, and SCYNOR's in a position here where, I mean, if Zach's just going to play solid in a level like Princess, then he just has to match this. There's really no other choice for him at this point. And we're not even, I mean, the next level, DSE, a lot of people would consider to be one of the harder ones in the game. Very trick-heavy level coming right after this. So if you're not even making up time or matching in a split like Princess, then locking in on a harder level is going to be even more difficult.
That is a good thing to note though, because Zach normally, when he's playing DSE, which is the only level you fully play on 40 hertz, he's using his own monitor. And I can say from my personal experience, Zach's monitor is absolutely cracked on 40 hertz. Like, it is ridiculous how little delay his monitor gets. So he may have a situation based on how well he's able to play this level with slightly more delay. I know he was personally complaining about the amount of delay on the monitor before we started doing the matches today.
Yeah, every other runner thought that the 40 hertz felt completely normal except for Zach, which, like you said, just completely comes down to the specifics of his monitor being so good for what he's used to running on.
Yeah, SCYNOR actually opting not to do the backup shot. Does not end up biting him in the back. Obi-Wan shows up just fine.
Those are the little risks that SCYNOR's probably going to have to go for as the run continues. He might not have any idea of where he's at in comparison to Zach, but he has to know that it's not going too well.
And Zach actually going for the Han out of bounds. This does save about 1.5 seconds just from being able to get some jump roll movement.
I think he
extra
also,
spots.
I think he did a slight adjustment and let himself fall a little bit. And I like that play from him because if you're too high in the floor and you're shooting the troopers, there's a chance that you blow yourself up out of bounds. So that's just a good heads up play from him, allowing himself a little bit of patience and room to breathe just to make sure that there wasn't anything disastrous. And he was able to hit the trick successfully.
Yeah, also just playing that door hit very safe. Doesn't actually kill this second guy, but we are going to be fine after taking that death. But as I was saying, yeah, just playing that door hit extremely safe. It is slightly harder to do with Han because of his ability to jump roll. So if you click the jump button too quickly, you will just jump roll back in bounds. So playing that extremely safe, not wanting to kill his immense lead.
Yeah, that's a really good point as well. And the other thing about his current character management is you have to hit Ripmore first try, otherwise you have to do a backup to make sure that Chewbacca doesn't accidentally jump in the pit and kill himself, which would end up losing the helmet. So luckily hitting the trick first try and is going to avoid any potential disasters with that one. Going to avoid having to go and get another helmet. Very solid DSC from Zach so far.
Yeah, I don't think you usually have the issue where Chewie just kills himself and jumps off, but it is something you have to pay attention to. The good thing about this character management is, though, if you do end up missing Ripmore, you will still have your helmet, because it's on Shui, not on.
Yeah, that's kind of the give and take of it. You have to be a little bit more careful to make sure the player 2 doesn't die, but also the nice thing is being able to attempt Ripmore without as much risk as usual.
Yeah, very solid DSC from ZAC. I would not be surprised if this is a high 3x or a low 40.
SCYNOR now about to attempt trash skip. Didn't look as confident on the pause buffers, but does get out of bounds, going for just the classic player 2 Chewbacca setup.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was like 3 frame, okay, not 3. There's 2 frames before that that he was paused on that would have worked for
Yeah.
sure, but just opting to play it extremely safe, going for like the specific frame that he's used to, and does pay off, managing to hit trash successfully.
We're going to have the split time coming in here for ZAC. Expecting something very solid from that DSE. Is that a
I believe that is a
345?
45, so
Wow.
a little bit worse than I was expecting. Maybe, I guess he did play room 1 like extremely safe, but still not a bad time at all.
Yeah, I think specifically in this setting, I think you have to be happy with something like that. Just even all of the tricks going well, hitting trash skip, hitting Ripmore skip, that already is kind of enough to just celebrate having a good split. And SCYNOR does take a death on Ripmore. This is what we were discussing, how now he has to back it up and go get another helmet.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure what was wrong with that attempt. It looked fine, but getting clipped through the platform and dying.
Yeah, he almost got pushed like downward rather than just getting crushed between the platform and the wall. So a bit of an odd death there. Luckily the helmet backup isn't too bad, but it is unfortunate because this is already going to be a worse DSC than what ZAC got.
Yeah, for sure. And that's just going to extend ZAC's lead even further. Looking at ZAC's DSC exit, it looks like if he's able to just have a mediocre end to this episode 4 in Rebel Attack, we will be getting a 106, but actually double blanking on this first target. Not the start you want to see from this level.
Yeah, 106 would be very solid, taking into account saves and also just the fact that we're in a race setting. And it's kind of surprising just given how the run has gone, because it hasn't felt great from either runner, but obviously it's felt worse for SCYNOR, but even ZAC's run hasn't felt the best, and there's been some pretty glaring issues. So if he gets a 106 is still a very solid race exit to get, so he can't be too upset with that.
Yeah, this episode 4 from ZAC has definitely been probably the best part about the run. Specifically like that Princess split, 352 is a really good split time. And then the DSE is also very solid. Just like not having any major mistakes throughout this episode 4.
SCYNOR's DSE split is about to come in a 4 flat, so another 15 seconds. Unfortunately, taking us to a 2.5 minute now deficit, 2.5 minute lead for ZAC.
And the crazy thing is, SCYNOR's exit is at best going to be a 109, so we're going to have a difference of almost 3 minutes. It's going to be like 2 minutes 30 or so. Actually, ZAC is losing sometime in this split. You can see on ZAC's camera, we actually have Jared, the cameraman.
I think they were recreating a little moment that happened in a Chimkin stream many years ago, where you're just holding forward throughout the entire trench, but Chimkin was sitting there and he was absolutely locked in for some reason. So ZAC locking in there for the trench, just making sure that he took an optimal line, really holding up as best as he can.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see this end section, one of the more tricky parts of this level. we left a turret alive on the left side, but at least we managed to get True Jedi. That is what matters in this split. So we are going to be getting an extra gold brick, one step closer to Hundo. Yeah, very solid episode 4 exit for ZAC. I believe only one runner has gotten a 105 in this ladder league, being Dragon in week 1 when he qualified.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, other than that, there hasn't been any 105, so 106 in a tournament match is definitely nothing to complain about.
Yeah, as rough as this has seemed, and as much as we've talked about it being, you know, kind of up and down for ZAC, still having a 115-16 BPT, there's a good chance that this could end up being a 217 by the time we get to the end of the run, which that would be incredible in comparison to all of the times that have been set so far in this season of Ladder League.
Yeah, for sure. ZAC's tournament best, I believe, was a 218-10, I want to say. So definitely has some potential to beat that on this run.
The split came in as a 106-54. So the split time specifically for Rebel Attack being a 430. So losing a little bit of time, but not a terrible split. And again, I don't think ZAC really has anything to complain about. He has to understand the position that he's in. Getting up to take a break as we're entering the Jabba's cutscene. SCYNOR still hasn't finished out Rebel Attack.
Yeah, just have this very difficult section at the end left. I would say the turrets definitely one of the more difficult parts.
Yeah, it's just weird how close the turrets are to one another. So it's activating them, but then being able to optimally flip with both of your ships. It's easy. It's really easy to just pass by a turret and just not quite hit it as you're shooting with your players.
Yeah, you can see right there, SCYNOR missed the turret in the bottom right. And in order to actually end up getting that one, he sacrificed getting... Oh, we are smashing our desk. So a little bit of emotion out of SCYNOR. But yeah, as I was saying, he was overcompensating with player 1 to get that turret in the bottom right that he ended up missing the ones on the top. Yeah. I think that might be the first desk smash
I think it is.
of the tournament.
Yeah, violence is discouraged here, but I think both of these runners are just kind of having a good time, understand the situation that they're in, so it's not like, you know, it's not going to be intimidating to ZAC or anything. He's not going to be too upset about that.
Yeah, ZAC actually getting sentry jump, so always going to be a good start to Jabba's when you end up getting sentry jump.
Bit of a weird build of the disco there.
Yeah, I believe it got cancelled because he got pulled by the camera and redropped. But I'm not going to lose any time here. SCYNOR's exit coming in with a 109-19. Just not what you want to see. The good thing is you don't even need a 109 to get a 225, so we can definitely
That is correct.
lock in at least a 224 on this run.
He did make up about 3 seconds, I believe, on ZAC in that last split, so 3 or 4 seconds. But still, the deficit just under 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, so ZAC getting the spider on the right coming towards the camera. So I think that's one of the better spiders. It might be the second or third
I
best.
think it is the second best spider spawn that you can get.
But yeah, opting not to do the corner cut, acknowledging how big his lead is, and just not wanting to take any chances whatsoever.
He has thrown at least one, but maybe 2 record pace runs, 2 attempting to do a corner cut. One of them, I think he went for a jump, and his jump just got completely eaten, and he fell into the void. It is some very weird collision in that little section of the out of bounds. You have to play it very carefully.
Yeah, for sure. I think he's also messed that up in Ladder League. I remember a run where he actually ended up jumping into, I think, that gate, and he was stuck in the gate. But we are gonna get past that section, no problem this time. And also no issues on either Droid Avoid or Spiderless.
Yeah, second try Spiderless. Gets the auto drop as well. So a pretty solid job is from ZAC. I think he's played it pretty safely, especially going for the just playing it safe when it comes to the specifically the corner cut. That's a good example of not going for anything too crazy, because you don't want to throw a run because all of a sudden you take a massive death like that. Obviously that's not going to make up the whole deficit, but if you have a minute time loss because something crazy happens, then of course that's going to end up causing some big issues in this run.
It's also just much harder to play well after taking a minute time loss.
Absolutely.
Like, your mental is just going to be completely shot. You might be paying attention. Oh my god, how close is SCYNOR to me now? Oh my gosh, he can actually come back. And then you start getting worried. So, I'm just going to avoid all of that entirely.
Very careful SCYNOR play here. He did an interesting slash to boost the spider a little bit closer to the transition, but I don't know if I've ever seen a runner take that long to set up the trick.
Yeah. Oh, very low on this corner.
Very
cut,
low.
but manages not to die.
That was very scary.
Yeah, I did see both SCYNOR and ZAC for this spider full setup to get out of bounds, like stopping completely with the spider and then opting to push it to get past the transition. I know a lot of runners like to just go full speed and then use a visual cue on the wall or on the floor to figure out when to get out and drop out, which I personally think is a little bit easier because you have momentum to get past the transition, but each runner seems to do this trick slightly differently.
Yeah, and even earlier today, we did see Jared have a couple of issues there. I think he reloaded the transition like 2 or 3 times and had to reset up for the trick. So sometimes just straight up going for it isn't always best, and I kind of like the safe play from these runners, especially in a race setting like this. There's just no reason to risk it. I do think that if you're really comfortable and you learn it with the non-stop setup, then of course there's no issues with that as well. But if it's a trick that you're not as confident on, then playing it safe is definitely a good option here as well.
SCYNOR not forcing the Gamorrean all the way to the right and causes the Rancor to take a very slow path to the bomb.
Yeah, not the best pathing here. I think ZAC had some issues as well with the Gamorreans in his Rancor fight.
Yeah, ZAC opted to go for the super fast strat where you get the Rancor to like attack immediately while he's in place, but just not having the Gamorrean in the right spot. SCYNOR still having a little bit more trouble with the Rancor getting stuck on that rock. So not gonna be the greatest split for him.
ZAC had a pretty clean Boba fight there. Was able to get a triple shot off, but does take an unfortunate death jumping between the skiffs. Honestly, not even sure how he fell there. It's not like they were super far away.
They're just really underestimating the gap and not spacing the jump at all. I know that jump is a little bit tricky because of how like the edge on that skiff works. Calling in player 2 really late. I think the death on the skiff may have caused some issues with player 2's pathing. And
Gets a damage boost.
I don't know if that was working without the damage boost.
I
He
don't
jumped
know.
really early, but manages to get topless first try.
Yeah, getting saved by the skiff guards here.
We are going to avoid the death here. Getting a perfect force confuse on the guards and only having 2 drop. So we managed to live this room on 1 heart. Oh. This is like a rare thing that can happen in this room where your character management is just slightly different. And when you do the swap on player 2, it switches to someone else instead of Chewy. But going to be doing Pixel Disco. It takes a while to set it up, but not correct.
Yeah, and he's very confused. As you can see from the runner cam, he was not expecting that to not work.
This
Missing
is
it again.
This is another aspect for ZAC where it's slightly different because of his monitor. Normally he plays on a really big monitor. I think it's a 32-inch monitor, but the monitors that we are using for this event are a lot smaller, so might be more difficult for him to find the pixel. Gets it with a strange adjustment. He was too far and just tapped up to get in the right spot and managing to get into the perfect spot, but not a great disco skip for ZAC. And
Yeah.
while we were watching that, SCYNOR missed the first skiff jump. Don't think I've seen a runner do that for a while.
Yeah, also a little upset at what was happening in his Carcoon. So funny to see both of these runners kind of have their own individual mistakes that they're reacting to.
And then ZAC getting the first couple of kills on the guards. Looks like we're going to be fine with Chewy. There's one Gamorrean left, but does not manage to get to Chewy in time. We are going to be just fine on this end platform. ZAC rolling his eyes after that Carcoon.
Yeah, it's his first really rough split in a while. He's been on a pretty good stretch through episode 4. So it was pretty unfortunate for him there.
Yeah, that split time is not going to make the difference. It is going to be quite a significant time loss, but the gap is just still so massive. Oh, and SCYNOR not forcing the color puzzle all the way. Manages to not die.
Yeah, he was on a good heart count, luckily, going into it. Somehow
5:06 Carcoon from ZAC. So losing over 40 seconds.
yeah, he can't be too happy about that. We have to be watching SCYNOR's disco skip here.
And SCYNOR, another runner who, or probably the only runner at this top 8 actually that does not do disc or
Yeah, I
pixel
think
disco.
so.
Just opting to do the normal setup. The first 2 attempts are not working, and I'm pretty sure when you start missing it a bunch of times, your camera's just going to be messed up. So going all the way to the right to adjust his camera, this should just work now.
Yeah, hopefully, even at this point, I think he'd be pretty even with ZAC. Just given how long ZAC was taking to set up his pixel disco setups.
Yeah,
But-
that was third try from both runners, but ZAC also, since he's doing pixel, going to be taking a lot more time between attempts to try and find the correct positioning. So should still be better so far from SCYNOR.
Yeah, the advantage to just doing the old setup is just how quickly you can keep attempting it. Whereas for a lot of people with pixel disco, they take a little bit more time just to make sure that the setup is correct. And I guess for him, that's the decision that he's made and the risk that he decides to take in this level.
Yeah. Also getting like some pretty decent enemy RNG on this end platform. Did have to kill both of the Gamorrean guards with Han, but should still be saving a little bit of time to ZAC here.
Well, I'm not sure because they both took a death on a different part of the skiffs. So we'll have to see. I think it mainly came down to disco. And if that's the case, then SCYNOR probably made up a little bit of time.
And then ZAC opting not to do this newer Speeder Showdown end platform reroute where you get into the walker with Leia instead. I'm not exactly sure what is happening because this is really far down and he just pulled the final lever.
For SCYNOR, we have a 458.
And ZAC
So
shaking his head. Yeah, this is just not how you're supposed to play the room at all.
yeah, ZAC, I don't think ZAC has been very happy with these last couple of levels. Has given SCYNOR a little bit of wiggle room. SCYNOR making up about 6 seconds on the last level.
Yeah, still out of Carcoon. After saving time, SCYNOR is still behind by 2 minutes and 22 seconds. And he's not going to have that much room either here, even though ZAC had what is probably the worst disaster you can have in this level without like messing up speed or skip. Still not going to have that much room to make up time.
Yeah, 255 there from ZAC. It's yeah, not very good. He's probably not too happy about that, especially after the Carcoon and now going into what many would consider to be the hardest level in the entire run in Endor. So it can't be good on his mental. Hopefully he's able to lock in and not mess up 12 button skip and just play this very solidly and get back to how he was playing in episode 4.
Yeah, Endor definitely the hardest level in episode 6 for sure. I don't know if I would say in the entire run. I would say it's definitely up there, but there's some levels like Chancellor that are also extremely difficult that I might put higher up. So SCYNOR also not going to do this new end platform strat, which involves getting Leia into the AT-AT instead. Only saves about 2 seconds, but it's still very easy to do.
Yeah, very new trick found by Anorak, I believe. Just kind of a micro optimization of movement.
We have ZAC in Endor Room 1. Looking alright so far. You're always expected to hit the rail flies, so it's good that he did.
Yeah, I do think that as time has gone on, the runners, especially top runners, funny death there from ZAC, but top runners have gotten very used to 12 button skip, and I think that is only going to get better over time. I think with practice, a lot of people find it pretty consistent, but it's also one of those tricks that on either of the gate skips, it's really easy to kind of mentally spiral and cause a lot of time loss because it can be very frustrating to miss the trick over and over again.
Yeah, the other thing is also for first barrier skip at least, once you miss it once, your camera is going to be slightly different compared to the original attempt. So it is going to be slightly different to get the jump. ZAC hitting hill roll first try. So yeah, once you miss first gate skip once, it is a little bit more tricky to back up.
ZAC here about to get to the first gate skip. Getting over very quickly with Han and Leia first try. And first try, second gate skip. Incredible stuff here from ZAC. Not going to allow any window of opportunity for SCYNOR in this Endor so far.
Yeah, this is a very solid split so far from ZAC. Potentially be seeing a gold here with a solid bunker.
Yeah, bunker, another one of those places that you wouldn't expect there to be just so many different factors where you can lose little bits of time that add up. But it is a very difficult section to play at a high level every single time.
But yeah, this must definitely feel good for ZAC after the 2 levels back to back with some trouble. Being able to hit 12 button skip like that first try, it's definitely got to feel good. Having a bit of difficulty here in this room, but should be fine. Only going to be losing a couple of seconds.
Yeah, not confident on the setup there of setting the spawn point. I like his play though to just stay back up there and make sure that his spawn point was good, play it very safe, just to make sure that he actually hits the trick.
Yeah, in the situation he is in right now, he just needs to not have disasters and he will win this race. So that's all we're going to do, just prevent disasters. But yeah, now that we have such a big lead from ZAC, might want to talk about the potential matchup coming up between ZAC and Dragon, who won the first quarterfinals match this morning.
Yeah, to me, that match is so interesting because I think A lot of people would have ZAC up there as a contender to win the entire tournament, but Dragon has just been this force to be reckoned with. He has had an explosive last year of progress and improvement. One of the few new recent runners to set a world record, especially for how long he had played. I think him and Frostbite are like the only two runners who have set a record in that short of an amount of time. And now just like winning all of his tournament matches so far in Ladder League, he's definitely a force to be reckoned with, and I think anyone would be intimidated to play against him.
Yeah, I would still say that we haven't seen like Dragon's best performance yet
Definitely.
in Ladder League. His first match, he got 217. That would have been even better if he didn't have tech issues. I believe he got like a 217 4x that lost around 30 seconds to tech issues in Chancellor, so that would have been a very solid time. And then also having tech issues today, we'll hope that trend comes to an end. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see if both ZAC and Dragon are able to put up great performances. We'll see who's able to come up on top.
Yeah, you have to think that after doing a run today, that Dragon's going to get a little bit more adjusted to being here in person with everybody, playing on a different setup. So it's very possible, and I would almost say likely, that the run that we saw earlier with the 218 could end up being his worst time that he sets during this weekend. I think he'll only get better and better as time goes on.
Yeah, he was definitely also playing noticeably worse throughout the rest of episode 3 and 5 after the tech issue, which is not surprising considering like what happened. I would not be able to play well either in that scenario. So we'll see how he's able to do on a run without tech issues.
ZAC's split time came in as a 558, which obviously you're going to be happy with a sub 6 and a no reset setting. So a solid split time. It's going to be a little bit worse for SCYNOR, who just had some issues in the left side of the bunker. C-3PO was stuck in that final panel before it flipped, so he had to wait a little bit for that. And then also, I believe, got the second gate skip of 12 button skip, like third or fourth try. So a decent amount of time loss for SCYNOR. Still not the worst Endor, but you're just not going to be making up any time to ZAC when he's putting up a sub 6.
Yeah, and ZAC finishing up Jedi Destiny right now, only doing really one safety slash, and I wouldn't even say that one counts because Emperor Palpatine was already falling down when that happened. Emperor Palpatine actually being ZAC's character in Ladder League, so having to eliminate himself right there.
That is a very good point. He just threw himself down into the chute of the Death Star, but I think somehow he might return.
Yeah. You know what they say? Chancellor Palpatine has returned. Somehow. I think we flipped the order of the words a little bit, but you get the gist.
Let's see the split time coming in here for SCYNOR. That is a 6:11. So it is going to cost him 13 seconds. And now the gap has widened even more, back to just over now a minute and a half. Looks like, or sorry, 2.5 minutes. Looks like a 2:33 deficit for SCYNOR.
Yeah, and I really don't see very many places left in the run where that could switch, not or even like be reduced. We have an RNG level in ITDS with room 1, but other than that, we're really not going to see very many places where ZAC could lose an incredible amount of time. We have seen 2 different infinite torpedoes misses this tournament, and that would definitely change the mood of the race. But
ZAC missed that last torpedo, despawned right before he got to it, but he still has multiple TIE bombers on his screen. I think he even missed one that was off to the left.
yeah, he duped the very first torpedo of the room, but after doing that, missing out on the next one. Getting some pretty solid RNG, but I wouldn't say he played it the greatest. But this is still going to be a good opening.
Yeah, and he's going to be pretty full. Going to have 2 on both of his players.
Okay, so that's going to allow him to just fly directly past the dispenser in this next room. Gonna have to slow down at all. So just another place where SCYNOR was looking to make up time, but is not going to be able to.
I think he could still play the opening a little better with good RNG. Like we said, I don't think ZAC played that the best, but he did just have so many torpedoes that at some point it just doesn't matter as much.
But yeah, as I mentioned before, ZAC is looking to avoid disasters, so I would not be surprised if he plays the core incredibly safe, knowing that's one of the only ways he can lose.
Yeah. Definitely something that I think everyone, especially since there has been a couple of rough instances of people messing things up, I think people are playing that very, very carefully to make sure that they get the red brick.
Yeah. We are going to be able to get the chance to see SCYNOR's opening right about now. He is going to need some pretty solid RNG to at least match ZAC, though.
Of course, it's a mixture of RNG, playing the room well, and then also the potential of duplicating as many torpedoes as possible. Something that you can try to set up for. But of course, the best case scenario is that you're just showered with torpedoes that you don't even need to go for dupes. I see a couple of ships a little further in the distance. Was luckily able to grab that bottom one.
There's 2 more directly below him. I think he might have killed one, but managing to get the torpedo.
Yeah, there is still many more on his screen.
He already almost has enough. He needs 2 more. He needs 1 more now.
Yeah, I like the
And
play.
it is right there.
I like going back for that torpedo. Sometimes people see somebody behind them and they don't backtrack in order to go get it. So I like just the heads up play, correct decision making. This ends up probably being a better opening for SCYNOR. Great RNG for both runners, but SCYNOR I think just played it a little better.
Yeah, for sure. He really got showered right at the start and then not really needing to slow down throughout the rest of the room. Just had to maybe slow down for like 2 seconds to get 1 torpedo that was behind him. But yeah, gonna be a solid ITDS from ZAC. He did play the core extremely quickly, opting to shoot only 1 torpedo at the start and then hitting the last target after shooting the core. Take a look at ZAC's BPT. Just still a mid 216. Exiting episode 6. We only have 2 episodes remaining. So, gonna be able to likely get a 217 if we play well for the rest of the run.
Yeah, I think at this point for a runner like ZAC, I would almost say that that's likely just with how he's been playing, especially in episode 4 and 6. Other than a stretch of a couple of levels earlier on in episode 6, he's played this very, very well. So I think we can expect that that will continue through episodes 3 and 5 and that he's going to lock in a pretty good time.
Yeah, ZAC also being extremely strong at the late game. He currently holds the best episode 5, I believe, and episode 3 is also like extremely short. And despite being so short, it has a couple of tough levels like Chancellor, but ZAC extremely strong at Chancellor specifically. SCYNOR is having some difficulties with shooting this target.
He is, and he also entered with 3 torpedoes. I don't think anything is blanked, so he should be fine here.
Okay. We are good. I was a little bit sketched about that second torpedo shot on the IT red brick. because normally you want to be facing away from that target when you shoot it in order to make it hit 100% of the time. And the torpedo was off screen when it hit, but managing to hit it just fine. And during this coruscant, we are going to get a guest in here. Welcome to the booth, Jared.
Thank you, Laser. It's been a fun event so far.
Jared, I want to start off by asking you about your match against Dragon earlier. How was that for you? Just like being in-person environment, facing against Dragon, the 1 seed who came, across the world to be here. How was that for you?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. I mean, I do want to give props to him, to Dragon. It's so awesome to have him here. Everyone has been so welcoming to him, and the group effort to get him over here to compete in this event was really awesome. And I'm really, he's a great kid. We were having so much fun up there. Like, we literally told each other, I know some people are going to treat this event pretty serious and try to win it, but we were just treating it like it was just another race, just having fun in VC together. And we had a really good time. I know the tech issues was really, really unfortunate, really unlucky, but shout out to Mello and to Wazit for keeping the stream afloat and keeping us entertained during that. It actually ended up working out. Hopefully we don't have any more of that, though.
Yeah, it did seem like a fun match. I think the VC comparison is really what I thought when watching it. It's like, oh, these guys are just hanging out and just having a good time and playing the game.
Yeah, it's so, I think I've had multiple moments. We've been here for a couple days now, but I've had multiple moments at this event so far where I've just like sat back and realized how awesome it is that everyone is here at the same place at the same time, just having a good time and playing TCS. I mean, it was obviously really, really stressful to get the tech stuff and the everything edited and all that stuff. So we were kind of scrambling around, and it was definitely a little stressed out before my match because I've been involved in a lot with the production and being in that. But just the fact that we've actually gotten going and everything seems to be going pretty smoothly in this race and with everything else, and it's so fun. And it's so amazing. The fact that we were able to get everybody here and get this event put together.
Yeah, now that you're eliminated, do you have a run that you are looking forward to the most in the rest of this tournament?
I'm definitely looking forward to the E-Roadhouse Bricko match coming up next. That match has so much history with it, not just from the two runners who are in the match, obviously, with Evan having multiple world records, really good world records, and Bricko having the great resume that he has, but just the fact, they're really, really close friends, really, really great guys. And I think that their skill monitors and mirrors each other really, really, really well. So I think it's going to be a really tight match. I really think either one of them can pull out a victory. And I think a lot of people, including myself, are just really, really excited to see how that one turns out. I think everyone's going to be watching that one really closely.
So I know you've been watching this match here with SCYNOR and ZAC, and obviously I think we would probably all predict ZAC to win, but I guess talk to me about your takeaways so far, the biggest things that you've noticed from this run.
Well, this run, I mean, ZAC has just been kind of unfazed, honestly. He's been, full throttle ever since episode 1. I know the pod race was a little bit weird, but I mean, he's been playing really well ever since, which is just exactly how ZAC goes about things. He's super chill, super laid back, and super focused. In terms of SCYNOR, I mean, he's had a couple tough breaks from him, just a lot of really, really large time losses that he's had in this run that have just kind of stacked on top of each other, have resulted in this extended gap to ZAC. But I mean, from what I've garnered, he seems to be having a good time up there, seems to be chilling for the most part. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the in-person environment though, like, I thought that this was going to be a much bigger factor this weekend, just because you're sitting right across from your opponent. You're the nerves are probably going to be high, the pressure is going to be high. But honestly, I didn't really feel too much about the in-person environment. Like, it honestly, just like you said earlier, it kind of just felt like I was in a VC.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be interesting to see how every other runner handles it. But other than that, I had a really, really fun time, and I'm super excited to be involved in this event and be here.
Well, thanks for joining us, Jared. Hopefully you have a fun rest of the tournament here. I think we all will. As we hop back in here, We've got ZAC just hitting MVE in Chancellor, hitting it successfully. He also had a successful Ewok skip in Room 1 as well. So pretty solid so far from what I've seen.
Yeah, as we get back to the gameplay, it is important to mention that if you look at the ZAC Coruscant split time, you'll notice that it is pretty slow, and that is because while we were away, he actually took a death in Coruscant, losing about 15 seconds.
That's actually something we've seen multiple times from ZAC in this season of Ladder League. I think it was his week 1 match that he
Yeah,
took like 2
not
or
even-
3 deaths.
Not even just this week multiple times, it's in one run multiple times.
Exactly.
2 deaths in week 1. He lost almost a minute in Coruscant in that run, and I think if that didn't happen, he would have been extremely close to Dragon's time and almost qualified as the 1 seed.
Yeah, I think that would have made the difference, especially when we were watching that match. It just seemed like he was very unfocused going into it. I don't think he was quite in the tournament mindset. I think that's what really led to that mishap in Coruscant. But the fact that that cost him the 1 seed is kind of funny when you really think about it.
Yeah, it really is, considering I know that first death was 100% preventable. He just wasn't paying attention. That second one, a little bit harder to prevent. But yeah, so far we've had a solid Chancellor from ZAC. Having a little bit of trouble on CSJ, just with the amount of enemies there were there, but hitting Ewok skip, hitting MVE just fine. On the other hand, SCYNOR did not hit Ewok skip. So we are going to be losing a little bit more time at the start of this level. And that is going to be just fine for ZAC, exactly what he needs. And as we go into this next room for SCYNOR, I'm interested to see what strat he does. It's looking like it's just going to be staying back with both of the players here. I know a more recent development is to send one of the players ahead earlier to start killing the droids while you do the deflect with player 2. But looking like he's just going to do a more standard strat. The ZAC's Chancellor split is in. I believe that is a 47. So really solid from ZAC. SCYNOR not going to get out of bounds for MVE. It's just, this is not what he's looking for. Now we can take a look at ZAC's Grievous. Started off with a 3 cycle. Four cycle. Now he just needs another 3 cycle to end it off. And we are all good.
Yeah, very clean. SCYNOR, interestingly, opting for the deactivate strat, but he is falling down with R2.
Yeah.
Does get a respawn, but that is still not great time loss for SCYNOR.
There's actually there was a recent backup posted for that exact situation that I guess he did not know about.
Wasn't that posted within like the last week?
Yeah, like 3 or 4 days ago.
Yeah, definitely not something that a lot of these runners would have picked up already. So, unfortunately, not a great Chancellor from SCYNOR.
The smart thing is for SCYNOR, when he started falling with R2, not pausing the game at any point. I know someone who is hard locked there before. So yeah, not pausing. Good choice.
I think we all know someone who is hard locked in Chancellor.
Yeah, it's probably the level where people have hard locked the most. In Ladder League, I know that is definitely correct.
We've seen quite a few Spaceport hard locks as well in Ladder League. I know at least this year we had, I believe, Gamer Olive hard lock.
Have we had a Chancellor hard lock this year yet? I don't actually know.
I don't think so. I feel like I remember seeing one. I think it happened at one point, actually. I remember it happening, but I could not tell you the context or the runners or anything else about it.
Yeah, last year we had the one where I hardlocked on CSJ, and then we had the week 6 match where Dragon hardlocked against Anorak and T-Fresh.
I think Zach has had a solid start to Kashyyyk so far. Another level that's not too hard. A lot of just traditional 1P2C and not too many difficult tricks.
SCYNOR having a bit of trouble with the enemies here.
I'm honestly surprised he got that force off.
Yeah. I think like there was a bullet that was approaching him very quickly as he finished that force. Yeah, not going to be a good Chancellor at all for SCYNOR. Having issues in like the first 4 rooms altogether. Yeah. Wow, that is not good at all. That is a 449. So losing a minute and 2 seconds to ZAC in that split alone.
Wow. That brings the deficit to 3 minutes and 40 seconds, if I'm
Yeah,
doing the math correctly.
That is correct. I know we mentioned SCYNOR's streak of top 6 finishes. I think, unfortunately, that one is very likely to come to an end.
Yeah, he already is easily out of the running to beat Jared's time from earlier. And then I doubt that some of the runners like Anorak, Bricko, Evan, they're just not going to put up a performance like this. So there's a good chance here that for the first time ever in a TCS tournament that SCYNOR ends up getting his lowest placement, getting below 6th place.
Yeah, we can chalk a lot of this up to the new keyboard, but also just like he has put up better times on this keyboard than this, so just not a great run from him. Yeah, ZAC finishing up Kashyyyk. That looked relatively solid for me. 350. You're not going to complain about that at all.
Yeah, 350, very solid time there. And we shouldn't see any major troubles in Ruin or Invader for Zach. So I think it'll really come down to episode 5. There's still a chance of 217. I wouldn't say it's as likely as I would have said earlier, but it's definitely still on the table if he plays well.
Yeah, for sure. I mentioned before, but ZAC actually has the best episode 5. A 25, like 14, I want to say. That sounds pretty right to me.
Was that performed in a ladder league match?
I want to say it was.
I feel like that was this season in one of his matches. Probably the one that he
I know
won.
He had best episode 5 at one point in a ladder league match. I don't know if he beat it by a couple seconds, but still, he is probably the best runner at episode 5 in this game. So if anyone was to clutch out a 217 here, it would be him.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially as things have progressed over recent years and new tricks and GTF being discovered, I feel like he's always just adapted really well to it. I remember back during PACE in summer of 2024, there was a race between Zach, Justin, Jared, and I think one other runner, and I'm forgetting who. But Zach did GTF like
I think it was Ginger.
I think it was Ginger, and that's probably why I'm forgetting who it was, because Ginger hasn't been around as much recently. But Zach did GTF like I think it was like within a few weeks or a couple of weeks of it even being discovered. He did it during the race.
I believe that race he got the first ever community gold in Bespin that used GTF.
Yeah.
It wasn't the first time it had been done in a run, because I believe that had been done by Parker previously. But it was the first time someone actually saved time with it.
Yeah. So he's just, I mean, a lot of top runners have this quality, but great at adaptability as strats are discovered and as tricks are discovered. The ability to scout them out, really understand like the depth to the tricks, understand how they work fundamentally, and then practice them all the time to be able to implement them into runs. I think that's really what designates certain runners at such like a higher level, is their ability to do that just purely based on the understanding that they have of the game.
Yeah, we kind of glossed over ZAC's ruin, but hitting a 211, pretty solid split time. Maybe like one minor mistake in there, but you're not going to complain about it.
Did miss pillar clip their invader just a little bit too far to the right, so he didn't quite stay on the pillar to enter the collision in the ceiling. But not going to be too much time loss. And luckily the drop and warp went well, which that can cause more issues if you end up messing that trick up.
SCYNOR taking a death of both players here. But otherwise, a pretty solid end room.
Struggling to shoot the lights at the very end there. I think he had all 4 of them forced before he even destroyed a single one of them, which is a very rare sight to see.
Yeah, usually that's like fine because you want to prioritize getting the forces off, but then accidentally blowing himself up with EBB and having to slash with Yoda on the last 2.
Yeah, we got a 356 there, so losing a little bit more time to ZAC in that level as well. But at this point in the run, the little gains and little losses basically don't mean anything.
Yeah, they should not matter at all. I think SCYNOR's like only line now is a Hoth soft lock, and I don't even know if he will be ahead if that happens.
Yeah, that's kind of how crazy this difference is, that a Hoth softlock would probably not even do it. It might make it a close match and a more exciting match, but a lot of the times for runners, when something huge like that happens, that's a run-ending match. So that's just how big of a difference that we have between these two runners. And I honestly think, like, more than ZAC winning this match, his focus and more the bigger picture of the implications of this run is the time that he can set. Just setting a good tournament time overall in the ladder, probably his best ladder time for this season, and overall just setting a good time in the tournament.
Yeah, I think if he's able to set up or set a time of like, let's say a mid 217, he will definitely feel a lot better going into the match against Dragon than he did in this match going into it. Because I know he was extremely busy on the tech side and he didn't have very much time to practice. So the fact that he was able to put up a good time like this probably will be very good for his mental.
Yeah, and I think similar to Dragon, this is a warm-up match for ZAC as well. I mean, I think for every runner, their first match is going to be a warm-up match. So I do think that even if ZAC sets a really good time, if he ends up setting a 2:17, I think just like Dragon's time earlier, that might not be his best tournament time that he sets this weekend. He'll adjust to the new setup, he'll adjust to not playing on his huge monitor, and he could even set a better time the more that he adjusts to this setting.
Yeah, the good thing is ZAC is playing on the setup that Jared played on. So both runners in this potential semifinals matchup will be playing on the same setup that they did in the quarterfinals matchup, which will just be better for both of them. We won't have to worry about any minor differences.
Yeah, that is a very like weird little detail of it, is just the adaptability, because even if you get used to the setup that you're playing on, there's a chance, just depending on
Oh, SCYNOR
yeah
just dying instantly with player 2 and calling in.
yeah I think he called in a little bit too early.
I'm not actually sure why that happened, but taking the death intentionally so he can go for the drop and warp is the right choice.
I like dropping pillar clip after not having a good setup. I feel like attempting it again would probably just not work out. I just don't think that you can do it from an unnatural position of starting the rune.
You definitely can do it. It's just becomes like 5 times harder than it is from the original point in the room, because instead of doing like the same muscle memory you always do, you have to actually figure out your position on the pillar, and it just is more difficult. And since the trick only saves 2 seconds, you're probably going to be saving more time than not when you end up dropping the trick from that position.
ZAC is getting into wave 1 of Hoth battle, going for the riskier strategy, but looking like a pretty good wave 1 so far.
Very solid first wave. Got most of the droids in the first 2 VSBs, only having 3 left, and then getting them all in the third one.
Obviously, this is the wave that we'll be watching a little bit more closely for these ATSTs. Decent first clear here. 1 left, but usually this guy does take a little bit of time.
Yep, all good.
Yeah, nothing to be too concerned about. It's very typical that you end up just having 1 left at the very end. So it's a scary few seconds until you know if that one is going to die or not.
Did end up getting the double spawn. Position on the dispenser before the wave started was quite good.
But
taking
dies.
a death, yeah, he was on 1 heart with both players. And he picked up hearts with player 2, but not player 1. So, I mean, honestly, not the worst thing in the world. He ended up getting to wrap the AT-AT again before the bomb actually got to it.
It's basically like he got 2 good spawns but didn't double wrap. So it really didn't end up losing that much time.
And getting almost every single droid in the first VSB. But this AT-AT is in the rocks, which broke his cable a couple times.
I'm honestly shocked that that last protocol droid, or probe droid, is not already destroyed. I guess it was just further over than he was.
Yeah, it looked like a really promising Hoth from ZAC, but unfortunately, taking the death on that AT-AT on the first AT-AT wave cost him a bit of time, and then having a bad spawn in the last wave. Still not going to be a bad time whatsoever, but it could have been much better.
Yeah, I think barring Falcon Flight, we should have a pretty good idea of where things are at for if he's able to get a 217 or not. Obviously, that can cause the biggest swing. I think otherwise he's going to play pretty solid in these other levels, even though, you know, a lot of people, at least they used to refer to the final 3 levels of the run as the gauntlet of the run, just Dagobah and CCT and Bespin back to back. But I would say in recent years, people have really come around on appreciating CCT. Obviously, it's still very trick heavy, but it's a lot of consistent tricks, and you usually see people not always put up like super great times, but not losing a ton of time. And then Bespin, especially with modified GTF, has also gotten a lot better. So I think we'll mainly be watching out for that to really determine how good of a time ZAC could potentially get.
Yeah, I think the average Bespin split time throughout the community has probably dropped by 10 seconds with the discovery of modified GTF.
Probably.
It just is so much better and easier than the other setup with Lando.
Yeah, the elevator clip was, definitely not as, I mean, it was as consistent because, you know, you just have to do the setup correctly.
It's just precise. And
it's just a lot more precise.
We lost a bomb in the first room of Hoth.
We did lose a bomb, unfortunately.
Yeah, he did opt to go take a slightly better line and shoot through the rocks, and it did not pay off. We did not shoot fast enough.
Yeah, it's interesting, like, just how much time something like that can lose. I mean, that was probably like a 10-second backtrack.
Last second adjustment by ZAC on this boom skip manages to get clipped out, and it looks like it is going to be successful. I would give that at least a 4 out of 5 on the boom meter.
I think it even deserves like a 4.5. I don't know if we do decimals, but like having the last second adjustment to hit the trick, I feel like gives it a little bit more bonus points.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that one. Having a bit of difficulty actually getting 3PO up this ramp. Should still have the power up for the build at least. Yep. Recognizing that he wasted some time, so he's not going to have invincibility.
Yeah, just a good heads up play, avoiding an unnecessary death. He could have risked it. It would have been close. So I like that. I like that call from him.
And now we have SCYNOR on the Hoth Waves. His position looks fine. One AT8 or ATST left, and we get rid of it just fine. I think this position is slightly different than ZAC's. I'm not exactly sure how like manipping the double spawn works. I kind of just try and place myself in the same spot, but not gonna work for SCYNOR there.
Yeah, I think he was too far to the left. I think you want to go like to the right of the bomb dispenser that's over here, or be kind of
Well,
around that area.
What I try and do is I try and have player one like directly on top of the bomb dispenser, like in the top left corner of it, and I like to have I have player one on the right, and I have player two in the top left of the bomb dispenser. But I'm not sure how precise it exactly is.
I'm honestly surprised. As far as I know, that's not something that the community has looked into to see what affects AT-AT spawns. I don't know if that's something that we just don't have the information on. It seems like something we would want to manipulate so that you know where to go or how to act, what to do to get a consistent spawn.
Yeah, I don't think it's fully understood how it works, but if you do the same thing every time, you will get the same result.
Right.
Yeah, solid start to Hoth from SCYNOR, but not getting the double spawn is gonna make it a little bit worse. But other than that, it was pretty fine. Bit worrying from ZAC because he's on 1 heart with player 2 there, but he
Good
managed
double
to get
death.
through the first room and reset our hearts. Do we have time to get the red brick? We do not. We will not.
Unfortunate.
Times 6? I want to say it's times 6.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Gonna cause massive time loss, unfortunately, for ZAC, missing that red brick.
If this was a max studs run, we would be losing time.
I don't think that we are going to hear either of these runners yell, "We super save me" in this level. We didn't see it in ITDS. I actually think that we might only hear it from Jared this weekend, and that might be it.
I'm sure we can convince someone else to do it, but right now, I'm probably going to agree with you.
We still are going to need We Super's help with this boulder. I mean, ZAC still has a very solid 217-16 BPT, but obviously going into boulder, that could swing by 20 or 30 seconds if he has a really, really rough boulder. So we're going to hope that this goes well. Obviously, at this point, ZAC has all but won the race, but specifically just to see if he can knock in a really solid time.
Yeah, we saw some trouble on this gate specifically from the runners in the earlier match today, but looking like the targeting is going to be perfect for ZAC.
SCYNOR is hitting boom skip successfully, at least the first part of the trick. You don't usually expect to have any issues with the second part.
We've hit the first 2 targets for ZAC. There's a third one on the back. Don't think it's going to hit.
Definitely didn't hit, but a good rotation. This is going to
Third and
bring...
fourth.
Should bring another one on the side here.
That one should... Oh, and
Oh,
it hits
wow.
from the back. I didn't even realize he hit the 5th one.
Wasn't the best Falcon flight, but I don't think that ZAC could ask for anything else. I was actually worried about that last target. I'm surprised that it was able to wrap around and hit that one.
The opening was solid. Like, everything up to the boulder was solid, so I would not be surprised if this is a 2x, honestly.
Yeah, and we'll specifically also look at how much time he lost to his sum of best here. See how much that BPT goes up from this split. Not expecting it to go up by much, though. Yeah, 5 seconds off of his gold there.
26, very solid time. You really can't ask for better.
Yeah, I don't know that any runner in this event would complain about getting that Falcon flight. Obviously, it's not make or break for this current race, but under different circumstances, getting really good RNG on the boulder like that could make somebody's race and flip things on its head.
Yeah, I think if, for example, if Jared got that Falcon flight time in the race earlier today, the gap would have been extremely close going into Bespin, like within 5 seconds.
We see ZAC and SCYNOR chatting with each other. They've got some stuff open on their phones. Not sure what they're looking at, but I think they kind of understand the state of the race and where things are at. So it's definitely all just kind of lighthearted up there at this point.
Yeah, going into Dagobah, Zach still has about 40 seconds to play with to his summer best. He wants to get a 217. I think we can easily do better. This has been a very solid episode 5 so far. Maybe outside of a couple seconds in Echo Base.
I don't think he's lost that much time to golds in episode 5. I mean, he definitely hasn't lost more than like 15 seconds or something like that.
Get past hut skip, no problem. Don't think that's going to be an issue for any of our runners in this event, but we have seen it missed before. Actually, from one of the runners in this event, we've seen Bricko miss it in Season 2 of Ladder League.
There was a bit of a scare earlier, I think, with Jared. A bit of a suspect hut skip, but yeah, we've not seen a miss, and hoping that that continues. Because honestly, like, as exciting as some of those things can be, sometimes that's just a devastating thing to happen to a runner. Having really close matches, really high level matches is definitely the preference. It's been a pretty good Dagobah so far from ZAC. I think I saw like one random missed jump up the log before doing pickle jump, which is an interesting thing to miss. You kind of just hold up into the corner.
We actually did blank on Vader there, so we're going to lose about a second in this fight. But otherwise, very solid. And then I know Zach is also extremely good at this room.
We do have a bit of new strats that happen towards the very end here to get force movement to be able to force the X-Wing just a little bit sooner at the very end. I think is it like a washer or something that you can force out of the swamp?
It is a washer. And just holding force onto that object as the camera pan starts, it lets you get movement, and then you can start forcing the X-Wing. As we were talking, SCYNOR started his boulder. I believe he's hit.
Wow.
Okay.
I thought that one was going to wrap around the back.
One left after that.
Yeah, I didn't catch the beginning, but again, kind of similar to ZAC. I'm surprised that that last one hit. It looked like it was going to be unfortunate for him, but the fact that it hit, I don't think it's going to be too bad of a Falcon flight for SCYNOR.
ZAC actually not having the greatest end room of Dagobah. I think he lost around 5 seconds throughout the entire thing, so what would have been a very solid split is going to be a bit more mediocre now.
Did he miss the force movement at the very end?
I'm not sure if he missed it, but because I was watching SCYNOR's boulder on the last target.
He just seemed kind of slow to killing the bats.
Yeah, he also got stuck on the bridge. Yeah, a 51. I think it was easily on pace to be better than that entering the end room.
And then a 333 Falcon flight for SCYNOR. So not too bad, but losing another few seconds to ZAC here. Gap is somehow extended to almost 5 minutes between these runners.
Yeah, I think it just got to a point where SCYNOR knew the run was over.
Yeah.
And I don't think he has been playing 100% this entire time.
Yeah, and I also think ZAC has done a good job of just really locking in pretty much since episode 4, barring those couple levels in episode 6 with Carcoon and Speeder. Other than that, he's played very well since that portion of the run.
Yeah, I can't think of a level that lost like more than 15 seconds after Carcoon. Yeah, we have Ichabod button skip for SCYNOR. And we have panel fly for ZAC. Missing it on the first attempt. But gonna get over just fine.
Scary from SCYNOR. That looked very suspect. Almost looked like he could have hard locked there, to be honest. But did hit it successfully. And now the new DVT strat for ZAC. No longer forcing the box and just getting a new respawn point set for R2-D2.
Wow, first try DV3 from ZAC.
Yeah,
Gonna be
potentially a helmet
very
full.
Solid CCT for him. Probably would have golded if it wasn't for that panel fly miss in DV1. But yeah, we are getting helmet full as long as we are able to slash him correctly.
I think that ZAC has lost like maybe a total of like 45 seconds from episode 3 onward to his sum of bests. It really has not gone up that much.
Yeah, this is an excellent episode 5. We really only lost like 5 seconds in Echo Base, and then like maybe 10 to his gold in Dagobah. Everything else has just been extremely solid.
We're going to see that CCT split time coming in here. And that is a 311, I believe. So very, very solid. I think CG now is, I think it's a sub 3 at this point. Recently became a sub 3. But obviously getting a low 1x is something that you're going to be pretty happy with.
Yeah, CCT is just such a difficult level that like even with like a high 3-1x, you're still not going to be like unhappy.
That was kind of a weird force movement there from SCYNOR. It looked like his force with Luke stopped, but then he still somehow started forcing the X-Wing.
Yeah, so how it works is like when you start forcing the object, you have like half a second of movement from the last moment it's being forced. So I guess in that half a second, he started the force on the X-Wing, and forcing the X-Wing gives you force movement.
Right. It's conceptually the same as the new camera pan skips in Jedi Battle.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we have ZAC out of the Bespin opening. Just barely need a sub 5 to get the 217.
Yeah, and as we talked about with ZAC in episode 5, and even specifically his experience and history with Bespin, I think this is something that he should be able to easily do, barring like unforeseen circumstances, you know, a panel not being there, something like that. Otherwise, he should be able to tap it in and get a mid to high 217, set a very solid time.
Yeah, I don't believe there was anything strange happening in Echo Base Room 2, so I would give him some good chances of not getting the panel soft lock. I probably shouldn't have said that at all, because now if it does
and he dies out of bounds as Chewbacca. That is one of the risks, depending on your height. As you're shooting the enemies just beyond the door, you have a chance to explode yourself with EBB. Luckily, that's not like a crazy amount of time loss, but I do think the 217 is at risk at this point.
Oh.
And a trooper is alive.
He is just going to opt to get another helmet.
Yeah, he thought about risking it.
In that situation is just continue down the hallway and shoot the guys. And if you shoot the guys, then you don't have to do the reload, since there's no guys to aggro on you. But
so we were not watching SCYNOR's screen. I'm pretty sure that he hit panel fly and then went down with Luke and lost the helmet. He went back to the helmet dispenser and then was able to finish off the room there.
Yeah, ZAC is through the first part of Modified GTF. He's taking the safest line I've ever seen in my entire life. So I do not believe we'll be getting a 217 here, but
SCYNOR takes a crazy death out of bounds in DVT. I don't know if I've ever seen the camera adjust the way that it just did. Flipped almost completely around and then he still died. I'm not sure what happened, if he took just a bad fly off the collision, a bad line. Something happened.
He's starting
and happens
his
again
fly a little bit late. So how this fly works is you either want to start it early so you get an up warp into it, or you want to start it late so you can make it over the floor. And he's starting it in like the perfect window where it is not early enough to get the up warp, but also too early to get up.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate to have that happen in this CCT after the match that SCYNOR has already had. And now missing DV3 as well, as ZAC hits box clip and is now a bridge skip away from getting probably a low 218 and securing the victory in this quarterfinal match.
Yeah, SCYNOR finally hits DV3, but it's too little too late. Going for fast DV4.
At this point, you might as well.
And ZAC's bridge skip easily makes it over with 4 damage boosts. And he will take the win in this quarterfinals match.
And here is ZAC reacting to his victory. Doesn't look all that excited with it, to be honest, but probably just relieved. It's over. He's done the first match. He is moving on to semifinals. That is all that matters.
Yeah, that is going to be a 2:18.15 from ZAC. So barely off of his best tournament time, but still not a bad time whatsoever. It would have been very solid if it wasn't for that Bespin mistake.
Is that better than Dragon's time from earlier? I know he had a 218 as well.
I believe it was by a little bit.
I think so. Now, obviously, if we had just avoided some of those mishaps in Bespin, there was still potential there to get a 217. So I think that's a really good sign for ZAC. I've been worried about kind of the combination of everything from production standpoint, less sleep than people are maybe used to getting, and being on a new setup, all of that. I was kind of worried about how that would affect people. So I think this is a great sign for ZAC that he's able to knock in a really solid time. Obviously, I think we can see better as he adjusts, but still a really good showing after a bit of a rocky start.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That, like, episode 2 exit, for example, was definitely not up to his standards, but like after that point, he played extremely solid for basically the entire run from Secret Plans to Bespin outside of like maybe 2 levels, like including Karkuna Bespin.
Yeah. I really think that's all it came down to for him. Through the run, he just locked in and was able to set the solid time. So congratulations to ZAC on winning this quarterfinal match. That means that SCYNOR will be eliminated, and we will figure out the placement based on everybody's times later on as we complete more matches, but right now on pace for a mid to high 223 for SCYNOR.
Having a little bit of trouble targeting Boba, but it's all good.
Yeah, it takes another death and wasn't able to get any good triple shots and didn't get an early shot off either. So not a great start to the Boba fight for him.
It's the fake door clip. It's interesting how many people will get that and then proceed to like move out of the way
Yeah.
when you can just do like jump 3 times again in that situation and it will clip you out every single time.
Yeah, you're already in the correct position. You just need to jump in place because the door is still pushing you through the exact same collision. Now setting up for modified GTF. Not getting his helmet shot off.
Oh, and he's
I don't know that I've ever seen somebody fall down the wall collision, half inbounds, half out of bounds.
Yeah, that was extremely sketchy. His respawn. Oh, was it just me or did the camera look low to you?
I didn't notice anything too funky with it.
I thought his respawn might have been different, but I guess not.
Yeah, I can't lie. That modified GTF is gaining SCYNOR a lot of aura at the end of this run. I don't think I've ever seen something like that.
Yeah, just 2 more tricks to go. Box clip and then bridge skip. And that will be it for SCYNOR in this top 8 tournament.
Yeah, of course, it's unfortunate to see him go. He's been the 5 seed, I think, in every single ladder league tournament that we've done. So for the last 3 years, I think he's always ended up as the 5 seed. And that's kind of been what he's known for. Like, he hasn't been like a top runner in recent years, hasn't held record for a while, but he's always been up there and able to compete with everybody, which is great to see for a runner who's been around for 7 years at this point. Seeing somebody like that still around, playing the game, playing at a high level, competing, it's just really cool to see. So sad to see SCYNOR go. We'll definitely see more of him this weekend through content and hopping on commentary and whatnot. But as for his tournament, it is about to come to an end.
We just have reset our hearts, and then we can do bridge skip. And that looks good.
As long as he hit a good line, that will be it for SCYNOR's run.
And that is it.
We'll see what his final time comes out as, a 2:23:52. GG's to both of our runners. We have our results screen here. And as you can see, just from the very beginning, ZAC just had a pretty dominating lead that just continued to extend every single episode and beating SCYNOR by over 5 minutes, which is very, very unexpected. But just how the run happened. Just a really not a great run from SCYNOR, but congratulations to ZAC, who's going to be coming down to join us for an interview after that race. ZAC, congratulations on the win against SCYNOR. I want to start off by asking you about just the new environment with playing on a different setup, different monitor. We know everybody's kind of particular about how they do things. So what was that like for you? Did that change even throughout the run as you got used to the setup?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little weird, but I think I'm relatively adaptable. I think at the beginning, it wasn't so much the setup, it was more of like the occasion made me a little bit nervous. But I think honestly, once I got out of like episode 1, I just wasn't nervous at all for the rest of the run. I felt pretty good. I think it's definitely different. I had a weird time doing pixel disco, but that's because I'm privileged. I usually get to look at a 32-inch monitor, so it's a lot easier normally. So I just had no idea what I was even looking for. I was like, I don't even see a pixel here. So aside from that, I didn't really feel much of a difference. I mean, obviously this match ran a lot smoother than the last one, so that helped. But yeah, overall, I think I wasn't affected by it too much. If anything, it kind of helped me focus. Just not, I almost like being able to see the other person made me feel more like locked into the match. I don't really know how to explain it, but I kind of liked it.
Yeah, I'm sure you saw that SCYNOR probably wasn't on the best run of all time. Did that change how you played at all? Did it help you be less nervous at all, or?
Not really. I mean, I wasn't too concerned with what my performance is going to look like. I haven't done a run since my PB, which was like almost a month ago now. So I was more so just concerned that I was going to like forget how to do specific stuff, which I did a couple times. But I don't think SCYNOR's run, like, I think if I had played a better Bespin, I think I would have just beaten his PB by like 20 seconds. So I don't think it really mattered how he did. You know, I'm glad I got the privilege of playing him again and finally being able to take him down 1v1. This is actually the first time we've played 1v1. The first time we played ever was earlier in the ladder, where I won that match. He got, I think, third and Justin got second, I think is what happened. But anyway, very fun competitor to race against and a good friend. So I'm glad I got the opportunity.
You had a very solid run. I mean, it started a little shaky, but then it became very solid. Other than like a couple levels in episode 6, specifically Carcoon and then Speeder. But then you followed that up with like a really good Endor. Was Endor like as you're entering the level, was it there like a lock-in moment, or were you kind of not worried about those last 2 levels before that?
I honestly think I kind of played well the entire run. The stuff that I messed up, it would just be like a one-off, like random small thing. Like the KBS thing, I knew I was going to mess it up while I was going for it. I was like, oh, that's not where you're supposed to take off from. And that just lost me like 20 seconds. And like I died in Coruscant, that lost 20 seconds. And I don't even feel like I was fully responsible for that. And so I was just like, most of the mistakes I was making, like the Carcoon thing, I was like, okay, well, I just can't see the pixel, so whatever. Like, well, I'm not going to complain about it. I should have just gone in and actually practiced it right beforehand and actually figured it out instead of just assuming that it would be fine. So my confidence was never like shaken, really. In fact, I think one of my bigger time losses was BHP, so I had that back to back into Camino. But even after that, I was fine.
Yeah, now your semifinals matchup is confirmed. You'll be playing Dragon tomorrow. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, he's really good. Definitely the best player right now. But I'm glad he gets the opportunity to play me in a semifinal because I think that'll be a fun match. And someone who flew all the way from Finland deserves to at least play 2 matches, in my opinion. So I think that worked out nicely. And yeah, he's going to put up an even better time tomorrow, and I will too. So we'll see who wins, but I think I know who it will be.
Well, thank you, Zach. Congratulations again on the win. Coming up very soon, we have our 3rd quarterfinal match. We have Roadhouse versus Bricko happening at 5 p.m. Eastern. Flexible a little bit, just with depending on how the schedule runs, but very soon we're going to have a little bit of content that happens between then and now. So make sure to stay tuned for some more exciting content. There was some fun stuff that we showed earlier but then we will be back with more quarterfinal matches. So thank you all for tuning in to this match, and we will see you again very, very soon.